His name's Ding Tian, and he's gotta be the poorest kid in the whole dang region. We're talking dirt poor. School tuition? A measly $8 a year, but even that, he's constantly behind on. His teacher, without a second thought, kicks him right out of class. But get this poor kid, Ding Tian, he's gonna become a huge success, a well-known businessman, famous all over the place. Now this chubby jerk, we'll call him Fatty, is totally jealous because Ding Tian is friends with the prettiest girl in class. So Fatty gets his goons together and they hold Ding Tian down and beat him up, scattering all the tuition money he'd worked so hard to save. Poor Ding Tian's crawling around on the ground trying to scoop it all back up, but when he counts it, he's short 5 hao. That's like a nickel, but still. Now this sweet girl, Qing Yue, sees what happened. When Ding Tian isn't looking, she dips some money her mom gave her into the mud and tries to give it to him. Ding Tian takes one look and knows it ain't his. However, Qing Yue keeps pushing him to take it, so he finally gives in. He grabs that muddy 5 hao and books it to school to pay the teacher. He gets to stay in school, and he's got this huge smile on his face. As soon as school's out, Ding Tian's on a mission. He's running around trying to find that 5 hao to give back to Qing Yue. It's pouring rain like cats and dogs, but he's not giving up. He's standing in the downpour, splashing around in puddles, digging everywhere, and finally, he finds it. But tragedy strikes. Qing Yue's parents are moving her to Beijing. She's gone. He's lost his chance to give it back. From that day forward, Ding Tian throws himself into his studies. His dream? To find Qing Yue one day. Fast forward 10 years, and wouldn't you know it, he gets accepted to Peking University right there in Beijing. He starts searching for Qing Yue everywhere. Finally, he hears some news about her. He's so excited, he grabs a classmate and starts peppering her with questions. But the people around him think he's some kind of creep. They tackle him to the ground and start beating him up. Desperate to find Qing Yue, he pushes himself out of the pile of people and charges onto the stage. He grabs the microphone and starts shouting Qing Yue's name, his voice cracking with emotion. Suddenly, the whole room goes dead silent. And then, a sweet voice calls out, "I'm here!" Everyone turns to see where the voice is coming from. There's Qing Yue, and she walks right up to Ding Tian and softly says his name. 10 years later, they finally find each other again. After selecting a reunion gift, Ding Tian accompanies Qing Yue to meet her parents. While they're busy cooking up a huge welcome feast, Ding Tian gets a desperate call from his best buddy, Feng Ji. He's been set up. Ding Tian says a quick goodbye to Qing Yue and her parents, and rushes off to Shenzhen to help his friend. Little did he know, this trip would change his whole life. But because he left in such a hurry, Ding Tian forgot his ID. The bus driver kicks him off in the middle of nowhere. Luckily, there's a truck heading towards Shenzhen, so he hops in the back. This couple is trying to hitch a ride too, but they don't have enough money. Ding Tian, being the good guy he is, happily pays for them. Ding Tian finally makes it to Feng Jie's company, and it's total chaos. A mob surrounds this woman, and Ding Tian realizes it's Feng Jie's friend. Without even thinking, he pulls out a knife and pretends to hold it to her throat, Hollywood style. Then, he drags her inside to hide from the crazy crowd demanding money. They escape out the back door together. Once they're in the car, Hong Yu tells Ding Tian what happened. Feng Ji took 3 million yuan to invest in a printing business, but somehow he totally screwed it up and lost everything. The boss is suing him. Now, Ding Tian's just a college student. Where is he gonna get 3 million yuan to pay off his friend's debt? Seeing that he can't help, the woman kicks him out of the car. But Ding Tian's not one to give up. He does some market research and figures out a sneaky plan. He can save his friend and make some money. He goes back to the company to talk to the boss, but the guy just looks down on him. He's just a college kid, right? The boss tells his secretary to give Ding Tian 100 yuan and tells him to get lost. That's when Ding Tian decides to use some reverse psychology. He says to the boss, "There are only about 300 printers available in the market right now. You could buy them all up for just 758 yuan. And get this, there's a huge typhoon heading for Shenzhen. Nobody's going to be able to get out to print anything. The demand for printers will skyrocket. If you're the only one with printers, you can charge whatever you want." The boss thinks it over. Ding Tian's analysis makes sense. So he decides to take a chance and gives Ding Tian the money. With the investment secured, Ding Tian buys up every single printer he can find. And just like he predicted, the typhoon hits Shenzhen. The demand for printers goes insane. People are practically fighting over the printers in the warehouse. The boss is thrilled. He praises Ding Tian and tries to get him to join the company. He promises him all the money and beautiful women he could ever want. Feng Jie is practically drooling at the thought, but Ding Tian firmly refuses. He tells the boss, "I gotta catch a flight. I have class." The boss tells him to hold on. He whips out his phone and charters a private jet for Ding Tian. He's trying to win him over with the big bucks, but he has no idea what's coming. Ding Tian hops on the jet and tells the pilot to fly him straight back to Beijing. Watching the plane fly away, the boss is furious. He calls Ding Tian an ungrateful punk and orders his driver to take him back to the company. Sometime later, when he's holding a meeting with his staff, Ding Tian suddenly shows up. The boss is so happy to see him, He drags him off to Hainan to negotiate a big business deal. Feng Jie hears that his buddy just graduated and already landed a huge deal, so he rushes over to congratulate him. After celebrating with his best friend, Ding Tian calls Qing Yue and tells her to come to Shenzhen to start a business with him. But get this, she doesn't take the news well at all. Instead of being happy, she gets into a huge fight with him. Qing Yue is super ticked off. She's accusing Ding Tian of abandoning his ideals and dumping her. Ding Tian's bummed out, so Feng Jie buys some booze to cheer him up. After cooling down, Ding Tian tells himself that he's a man, and he needs to focus on his career first, then worry about family stuff. One day, Feng Jie takes Ding Tian to this dumpling shop he frequents. But Ding Tian takes one bite and almost spits it out. The dumpling is super salty and gross. The new cook hears him complaining and storms out, ready to throw down. But guess what? The cook is the same guy Ding Tian met on the truck. They're super happy to see each other again. The cook hears that Ding Tian is working for a big company now and is super impressed. Just then, the boss shows up. He doesn't see Ding Tian and gets super mad, ordering someone to drag him back. Ding Tian figures it's some kind of emergency, but the boss just wants to brag about how he spent 10 billion yuan to buy 2 freaking satellites in space. Ding Tian is speechless. The next day, the boss puts on a huge welcoming ceremony for the general who sold him the satellites. Meanwhile, Ding Tian and Feng Jie are sitting around drinking beer, making fun of how stupid the whole thing is. While they're chatting, the boss calls them back. He won't stop talking about how amazing the satellite deal is. The three of them sit and listen to him brag all day. They want to laugh so badly, but they can't. The day after that, the boss wants to invest in computer equipment. Ding Tian and Feng Jie have to run around everywhere to do market research. The boss gives them 20 million yuan to negotiate with component factories. Everything's going great, but then, out of nowhere, on the day of the contract signing, something goes wrong at the company. Ding Tian sees the security guard rush into the company and knows something bad has happened. Turns out, an employee ran off with the 20 million yuan. And wouldn't you know it, that was the money for the new project they were working on. All their hard work over the past few months is gone. Standing in front of the investors, Ding Tian has no idea what to do. Ding Tian doesn't want to ruin the deal, so he drags Feng Jie to the apartment building where the thieving employee lives. After a while, the guy shows up. He tries to run, but they chase him down. After giving him a beatdown, he finally tells the truth. It was all a setup. The boss didn't want to spend the 20 million yuan on the project anymore. Knowing they've been played, the two of them storm into the boss's office and quit. But the boss is ruthless. He orders the security guards to strip them of their uniforms and throw them out. Under the sneering gaze of everyone in the office, they dance joyfully in the rain. That's when Ding Tian sees Qing Ye. She disobeyed her parents and secretly came to Shenzhen to find him. In the pouring rain, Ding Tian proposes to Qing Ye. That night, surrounded by their friends, they became a couple. In the days that follow, Ding Tian, his best friend, and the chef start chasing their entrepreneurial dreams. Ding Tian rents a place in a slum, both as a place to live and as a place to research and write software. After Ding Tian explains the potential for growth and the massive profits that the industry offers, everyone's eyes light up. But difficulties lie ahead. To achieve their dreams, they first need to buy a computer, and then they need to register a company to get patents. But at that time, computers were a luxury item almost as expensive as buying a house. Seeing how much it would cost, Feng Jie quickly tries to pass the responsibility off to the chef. But as luck would have it, the chef's wife is a saleswoman at an electronics store. So, he goes to negotiate with the owner to buy an old computer on credit. Seeing the potential profit, the owner doesn't hesitate to let him take it. At the same time, Feng Jie is constantly complaining to Ding Tian about the exorbitant costs of everything. He even swears that if Xian Wu actually manages to get a computer today, he'll change his last name. No sooner does he say that than the computer arrives. Feng Jie is speechless. He obediently goes to Hong Yu to ask how to register a business. Seeing him cling to her, she finally agrees to help. Everything is ready. Now the most important thing is to name the company. That night they gather together and come up with a great name, hoping that business will go smoothly. But life isn't a fairy tale. The company has no income, and they need to feed 4 people. Even living on instant noodles is too expensive. As the treasurer, Xian Wu knows the company's dire situation, but he doesn't say a word. He spends his days delivering goods for others to earn a little extra money. Ding Tian sees everyone's efforts. That's why he's burning the midnight oil every day, working tirelessly on his research. Even on days when the 5 of them have to huddle together on the bed to avoid the rain, none of them wants to give up. To boost the company's spirits, Feng Jie decides to go out and hustle for business with Xian Wu. Hearing that Ding Tian has finished the code, Feng Jie excitedly runs back to celebrate their victory. From now on, they won't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. But while Feng Jie is dancing around like a maniac, Ding Tian feels that what he's written is too mediocre, so he sets it all on fire. Seeing this, Feng Jie rushes to snatch it away, but it's too late. Seeing that Ding Tian wants to erase everything he's written for the past month, Feng Jie smashes a beer bottle and threatens to kill himself if he does. But Ding Tian, being as stubborn as he is, doesn't want to listen to anyone. He taps a button, and everyone's hard work from the past month vanishes. Enraged, Feng Jie says some nasty things, throws the dumpling Ding Tian gave him, and leaves. The atmosphere becomes incredibly tense. Xian Wu and his wife call Qing Yue out to discuss the company's survival. Qing Yue wants to shoulder the responsibility with him, so she calls home to borrow money from her parents. Hearing her parents arguing on the phone, tears stream down her face. At the same time, Xian Wu and his wife are arguing too. His wife doesn't want to live like this anymore, so she tells him to leave the company quickly. But no matter what she says, he won't give up. Because he believes that one day Ding Tian will be successful. The two of them argue and then leave. When they return, they find several police officers in the yard. It turns out that while no one was home, thieves broke in and stole the computer. Hearing this, his wife complains incessantly. Hearing her constant nagging, Xian Wu feels a headache coming on and almost hits her. After his wife leaves, with encouragement from Ding Tian and his wife, he runs out to chase after her. Back at the apartment, only Ding Tian and Qing Yue remain. He tells Qing Yue to go back to Beijing and stop suffering here with him. But she says that she will never leave him. This gives him the strength to keep trying. That night, after leaving the apartment, Feng Ji goes to a pool hall to drown his sorrows. But before he can even start to feel better, he gets beaten up by a bunch of kids. He sits there looking at the torn-up business license on the side of the road. Back at the apartment, the atmosphere is as bleak as ever. But soon enough, Xian Wu returns. To lighten the mood, Ding Tian jokes that he thought Xian Wu ran off with the money. The chef laughs and says he should be careful, because when the company gets rich, he really might run off with the money and leave them all behind. As they eat their porridge, Xian Wu looks around, asking about Feng Ji. Speak of the devil. Feng Jie, holding the business registration certificate, returns and apologizes to Ding Tian for what happened yesterday. But Ding Tian tells him that apologizing is pointless now. The computer was stolen, so there's no way to continue writing code. That's when Feng Ji realizes that the computer is missing from the table. He starts frantically searching, wondering if Ding Tian is tricking him and hiding it somewhere. It's just one thing after another. Feng Ji chugs the remaining porridge in his bowl and storms out to take matters into his own hands. He grabs 2 heavy cleavers and goes to find his old boss to demand the wages he owes them. As the two sides are arguing, Ding Tian arrives and joins in on the act. Once the boss realizes what's happening, they grab the money and run back home. Feng Jie excitedly recounts the hilarious scene to everyone. Xian Wu sits down and takes out 2,000 yuan to put into their 3-month expense fund. With the remaining 8,000 yuan, they'll buy a new computer. As they're laughing and joking, the door is suddenly kicked open. The owner of the computer store is dragging Xian Wu's wife back to demand payment. Ding Tian immediately recognizes him as a former classmate. They're all so caught up in the moment that when Feng Ji asks the owner if he wants to sell them another computer on credit, he happily agrees. But he immediately realizes that something's not right. They haven't even paid for the old computer yet, so why are they already buying a new one? Ding Tian doesn't want to owe anyone anything, so he tells Xian Wu to give them the money. The money barely warms their hands before they have to give it away. Without money for a computer, Ding Tian applies for a job at a store that specializes in typing documents for others. This way, he can earn money for living expenses and use his free time to write software. He calls Qing Yue to come help with typing, and he sits next to her writing code. But while Ding Tian is out using the restroom, someone sneaks into the store. He puts his hand over Qing Yu's mouth and drags her outside, then shoves her into a car parked right outside the door. Ding Tian sees his wife being kidnapped and desperately chases after them. When he catches up, Ding Tian is stunned by what he sees. It turns out that the people behind all of this are Qing Yue's parents. Their only goal is to take their daughter back to Beijing, but she absolutely refuses to go with them. Then, her father gives her the hardest math problem in the world. She can only choose between her parents and Ding Tian. Qing Yue apologizes to her parents, and without hesitation, she stands next to her husband. Her father is furious and swears to the heavens that he doesn't need a daughter like her anymore. As time passes, one day Xian Wu comes home and finds his wife lying on the ground, writhing in stomach pain. He rushes her to the hospital. A midwife comes out and hands him a bill, telling him to go pay the hospital fees. Seeing the number 3,000 on the receipt, his head starts to spin. As he hesitates, Ding Tian and his wife urge him to take the company's funds and pay the hospital fees for his wife. Xian Wu's wife successfully gave birth to a healthy baby. Hearing the baby's cry from inside the room, Ding Tian suddenly has a breakthrough in completing the code he's been working on for so long. Ding Tian pulls Feng Ji aside and tells him to go find a computer for him. But it's the Lunar New Year, where's he going to find an open internet cafe? So, the two of them go to ask Hong Yu for help. Ding Tian's fingers fly across the keyboard. Before long, he's out of the room hugging his two friends. Ding Tian has finally completed the software he's been dreaming of for so long. The two brothers jump for joy. They're just one step away from getting rich. Ding Tian names the software Tianyu Xing, Skyleap Star, and starts contacting various parties to find a source to sell it for 1,200 yuan per copy. But compared to the well-established brands on the market, they have no reputation or name recognition. So everyone only agrees to buy it for 120 yuan. Feng Ji advises him to lower the price. After all, their initial investment was only a few dozen yuan, so selling it for 120 is already a profit. But Ding Tian believes that all the software on the market at the time is not as good as his, and they're selling for several thousand yuan a copy. So, he refuses to lower the price. Ding Tian sits by the roadside, starting to feel uncertain about the future. Looking at the hot dumpling stall on the side of the road, his stomach is rumbling. Just then, Feng Ji returns and gives him a box of food. As he eats, Feng Ji tries to convince Ding Tian to lower the price, but he stubbornly refuses to listen. Feng Jie, on the other hand, just wants to fill his stomach. He says he's willing to sell it for any price. Hearing this, Ding Tian starts to feel that something is wrong. He immediately asks him how much money he made selling the software. Hearing the number 12, the crazy blood in Ding Tian's veins boils over. He throws the box of food away. He'd rather starve to death than sell Tian Yuexing at that price. Just then, Xian Wu runs over and gives him a flyer for a computer software exchange event that's about to take place. Ding Tian stares at the flyer in his hand. After walking for a while, he suddenly sees Boss Zhou. He's Mount Tai in the software world. The V92 software, written by his company, accounts for half of the components currently on the market. But who would have thought that the person who spent 12 yuan to buy Tian Yuexing was his underling? After he discovered the anomaly, he rushed to report to his boss. Hearing that he only spent 12 yuan to buy the software, at first, he didn't care much. But after seeing the serious expression on his face, he told him to open it and show him what it was like. Before he even finished his phone call, the software was done running. He was shocked. The speed was incredible. The more he looked, the more confused he became. He quickly asked where he bought the software. This exchange event was originally an ordering fair for businesses. If this thing successfully hits the market, the software they wrote would just be garbage. Boss Zhou sent people to search for the people who wrote this software. He also ordered his henchmen that if they saw Tian Yuexing on the market, they had to buy it all back for him. Meanwhile, the 5 of them are worrying because sales aren't going as planned. Ding Tian says they absolutely have to participate in this exchange event. He believes that as soon as their software hits the market, it will destroy all the other brands that exist at the time. But Feng Ji throws a bucket of cold water on him. Where are they going to get the money to participate? The next day, when Xian Wu's wife is selling the software on the street, Boss Zhou's people find her. They disguise themselves as customers and spend money to buy all the software disks she's carrying. She happily returns home, sharing the good news with everyone, unaware that she's been followed home. The men outside the yard tell Ding Tian, "Our boss wants to meet you." Seeing their poverty-stricken appearance, Boss Zhou takes out 200 yuan to buy the code that Ding Tian wrote. Seeing the money, Feng Jie's eyes light up. He pulls Ding Tian out the door and desperately tries to convince him to sell it. But Ding Tian knows that his Tian Yuexing is worth 100 times more, so he firmly refuses. Afraid that Ding Tian will get in his way, Boss Zhou orders his subordinates to keep an eye on Ding Tian's family, and they're not allowed to appear at the exchange event. He also finds top experts to crack Ding Tian's software. Back at the apartment, Feng Ji complains incessantly that they were offered 200 yuan, and he still didn't sell. Hearing this, Ding Tian angrily tells him that his vision is too limited. Tian Yuexing should sell for at least 50 million. Just then, Qing Yue takes out 2 tickets to the exchange event. Turns out Hong Yu gave them the tickets. Ever since the day they came to her to borrow a computer to run the code, Hong Yu has also become interested in learning about the industry. She even went to find experts in the field to learn new things. Under the guidance of this expert, Hong Yu realized that the electronics market really has a lot of development opportunities. Smelling the opportunity to make money, she contacted Boss Zhou to collaborate. She wants to combine Zhou's developing V92 with the anti-malware software she has to sell to the market at a more attractive price. On the day of the event, the atmosphere is very lively. Even the deputy mayor came to join in the fun. Right before the start of the event, Ding Tian grabs the tickets and runs into the hall, but he's stopped at the door. They try to force their way in, but fail again. The men in black corner them and keep a close watch. Just then, a luxury car arrives, and the person who gets out is none other than Professor Yan, their senior classmate. Seeing an opportunity, Ding Tian stands up and distracts the men, allowing Feng Jie to run to the professor. He tells him, feeling wronged, that these people saw they were dressed poorly and wouldn't let them in. Hearing this, the professor feels indignant. He decides to stand up and guarantee that the 2 of them can enter. And just like that, the 2 of them successfully enter the hall, while the security guards are incredibly tense, not daring to leave for even a second. Ding Tian signals to Feng Jie to stand next to the flower vase displayed at the entrance. He winks, and Feng Jie uses his head to knock the flower vase off the stand. The sound of the vase breaking attracts everyone's attention. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ding Tian rushes onto the stage and grabs the microphone from his teacher. He believes that current computer software is too outdated compared to the progress of the times, so today he wants to show everyone the power of the new software in his hands. As he says this, he rushes to the computer setup. Seeing this, Boss Joe quickly orders the security guards to drag him out. Knowing that Ding Tian used a new method to write the software, Professor Yan stops them, giving his student a chance to show his talent. His fingers fly across the keyboard. It only takes a few seconds to set it up successfully. Even Professor Yan can't believe that the encryption software he's painstakingly researched for 5 years can't compare to the software his student just wrote. The people sitting below start to murmur in praise of his new software. Seeing this, Boss Joe panics and rushes over to pull the power cord from the computer. After chasing the Ding Tia out, the event continues. But Professor Yan just stands there, staring blankly at the Tianyu Xing disk in front of him. Back at his company, he sits in his office, researching the software Ding Tian wrote. Compared to what his student wrote, his V92 is just a pile of garbage. Through Professor Yan's words, Boss Joe realizes the seriousness of the problem. If Ding Tian's software hits the market, will anyone even bother looking at his software anymore? Meanwhile, after returning home, Feng Ji starts complaining about how hard life is. Just then, Professor Yan pushes the door open and barges in. He believes that Ding Tian will definitely become the best programmer in China. Therefore, he wants to spend money to buy a software disk to support him. Ding Tian doesn't want to accept the money because Professor Yan is his teacher. But as soon as Feng Ji sees the money, his eyes light up. He immediately grabs the money from the professor's hand. At this moment, Ding Tian feels incredibly moved. Other than him, this is the first person to recognize its true value. The next day, Boss Zhou brings 1 million to negotiate with him, delaying the launch of Tianyue Xing by 3 months. The conditions he offers are too good to pass up. Everyone except Ding Tian is tempted. Ding Tian thinks for a while and still decides to refuse, because he knows that once the software is cracked and pirated versions appear, his Tianyue Xing won't be worth a penny. Seeing that Ding Tian doesn't want a toast but wants a penalty drink, he starts to threaten him. But having come this far, who does he have to fear anymore? Seeing this, Boss Zhou angrily grabs the money and leaves. Feng Ji doesn't want to miss this opportunity and runs after him. But Ding Tian pulls him back. Back in his office, Boss Zhou gives his henchman 2 stacks of money, telling him to find someone to crack Ding Tian's software. Meanwhile, sales of Tianyu Xing still haven't changed. One day, while wandering down the street, Ding Tian sees an advertisement on TV. His eyes light up. He's finally found a way to boost sales for his software. But to shoot an advertisement video, they need 10-0, and the company's funds aren't even 1-0. So, Feng Jie once again advises Ding Tian to delay the release date to take the 1 million as capital, but Ding Tian doesn't give up. He goes to find Boss Zhou to borrow money. Boss Zhou can't understand what's wrong with his brain. He'd rather borrow money than accept that sum. Seeing that Ding Tian only wants to borrow 50-0, he laughs and offers him 200-0 more, making it 1.2 million, and then delaying the product launch by 3 months. But this time Ding Tian came to borrow money, not to compromise. He uses the source code of Tianyue Xing as collateral. If he can't pay him back both principal and interest after 15 days, Tianyue Xing will belong to him. Hearing such an attractive condition, he immediately agrees. But as the two sides are preparing to sign the contract, Boss Zhou suddenly thinks, what does he want to borrow money from me for? As an experienced businessman, he can't lift a rock and hit his own foot like that, so he can't lend him this money. As they leave, they happen to meet Hong Yu in the hallway. From her conversation with Boss Zhou, Hong Yu learns that Ding Tian is running around borrowing money everywhere. She takes the initiative to contact them and offer to lend them 50-0, but she sets a condition. After 15 days, they must pay her back 150-0. Otherwise, Tianyue Xing will belong to her. Ding Tian immediately agrees without hesitation. Faced with this huge interest, everyone except Ding Tian feels incredibly pressured. But Ding Tian is confident that if they spend money to increase brand awareness, they will soon make the money back. The next day, the two of them go to the newspaper office. Normally, the advertising is managed by the editor-in-chief. But coincidentally, when they arrive, the editor-in-chief is away on business, so the editor will take care of the article. The two of them start whispering, telling the editor to think of a way to help them. They won't short him any money. Hearing this, he immediately agrees to help them. And before long, the article introducing Tianyue Xing is put on the front page. Seeing the article, Boss Zhou is furious and immediately calls to scold the editor-in-chief. Meanwhile, Feng Ji is spending his days stationed at a public telephone booth, waiting to see if anyone calls to buy the software. But the public telephone is constantly being used by one person after another, so Ding Tian decides to spend the last of their money to install a private phone for the company. The editor then rushes over again. The front page advertisement they paid for 3 days has suddenly been replaced by another article. The two of them angrily run to settle the score with the editor. But when they arrive, they learn that the ad was taken down by the editor-in-chief because the wording in the ad was inappropriate and offensive to others. If they want to continue running the ad, they have to rewrite it to be reasonable and appropriate. But Ding Tian refuses to comply. So the editor-in-chief doesn't care and will just leave the article sitting there. Hearing this, Ding Tian demands that he return the money. But the article has already been published, so he can only return 2/3 of the money. Ding Tian scolds him and leaves with the money. Several days have passed, but the phone still hasn't rung. Feng Ji is worried sick and turns to Ding Tian, asking him what to do now. At this time, he suddenly remembers that his wife was formerly an outstanding student in the journalism department. He rushes out and tells Qing Yue to write an inspiring story from the perspective of a consumer about the time they spent together trying to create Tian Yue Xing. Meanwhile, the Jade League is also having dinner together. Hong Yu blames him for not competing fairly and always playing tricks. Boss Zhou realizes that Hong Yu has feelings for Ding Tian, so he reminds her to know her place and not let the boat capsize. After writing the article praising themselves, the Ding Tian brothers happily run to the newspaper office. Feng Ji takes out 20,000 and gives it to the editor-in-chief, asking him to help them get the article published. But at this time, the editor-in-chief is still holding a grudge and refuses to accept their money. Just as the two of them don't know how to solve this problem, the editor-in-chief's phone rings. The caller is none other than Boss Zhou. Relying on his money, he speaks very arrogantly, not putting anyone in his eyes. Hearing him talk, the editor-in-chief is seething with anger. He calls the editor and announces that from tomorrow onwards, he is not allowed to publish advertisements for Boss Zhou anymore. After finishing everything, he turns to the Ding Tian brothers and says that he will accept the money, and their article will start being published tomorrow. The next day, seeing the article on the front page, Boss Zhou is furious. He calls the newspaper office, intending to scold the editor-in-chief. But the editor-in-chief has already anticipated this. Boss Zhou angrily calls his subordinate, telling him to urge the computer expert they found to crack Tian Yue Xing quickly. While Feng Ji is happily telling everyone how they persuaded the editor-in-chief to publish the article, Ding Tian's phone rings. Hong Yu asks him to come out and tells him some bad news. The contract they signed has been taken away by his former boss. If he doesn't pay back all the money by the deadline, he will definitely not show any mercy. Just as Hong Yu wants to take out money to lend to Ding Tian to pay off the debt, he suddenly refuses. He is confident that he can pay off this debt on time, and reality has proven that his confidence is well-founded. After his inspiring story went online, orders have increased day by day. Everyone in the company is extremely busy. Before long, the due date for the debt arrives. Ding Tian returns the 150,000 to Hong Yu as stipulated in the contract. Their 5-member company has finally waited for its day to transform. Xian Wu informs everyone that the amount of money they have earned has reached 1 million. The next day, Xian Wu goes to collect the money, and Feng Ji happily lies on top of the mountain of money. As everyone is discussing how to spend this money, Ding Tian stops them. He wants to use this 1 million to continue running advertisements. At first, everyone is unhappy, but after hearing Ding Tian's analysis that using this money for long-term advertising, the amount of money they earn will never stop at 1 million, but will be 5 or 10 times that amount, everyone agrees. Feng Ji can't bear to leave this pile of money, so he asks Ding Tian to take a picture of him as a memento. From the day they started making money, they no longer needed to live on instant noodles. There was meat and fish on the table, enough for 6 delicious dishes. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Ding Tian seriously tells them that it's time to discuss the division of shares. Hearing this, Qing Yue cleverly pulls Xian Wu's wife out, letting the 3 men discuss and divide it among themselves. Finally, they agree to let Ding Tian hold 40% of the shares, and Xian Wu and Feng Ji each hold 30%. The next day, the 3 of them take 1 million to find the editor-in-chief. Seeing the pile of money in front of him, he is very surprised and can't help but marvel at what kind of deity Ding Tian is that he can earn so much money in such a short time. Ding Tian tells him that he wants to use this money to monopolize the advertising in the newspaper for the next 2 months. During these 2 months, their newspaper is not allowed to publish any advertisements for Boss Zhou's group. At first, the editor-in-chief doesn't want to agree, but Feng Yie's mouth is too good, and finally, the editor-in-chief gives in. He calls his subordinates to remove all the advertisements for the Zhou group and prepares to publish the articles for Tian Yue Xing. Both sides are willing to buy and sell. The next day, the advertising supplement is distributed everywhere. He hurriedly went to urged Clumsy, a nickname, to quickly crack Ding Tian's software. He raises 2 fingers, guaranteeing that he will crack the source code in exactly 2 months. But in 2 months, the company might go bankrupt for 8 generations, so what does he need him to crack the code for? Already annoyed, he just stands there venting his anger on Clumsy. Then, he glances to the side and suddenly sees a newly arrived programmer. Knowing that Feng Ji is looking for people for the sales department, and the first criterion is beauty, Boss Zhou decides to use a honey trap to plant his people to spy. Meanwhile, after making a lot of money, Ding Tian decides to move from the slum to the administrative building. Ding Tian spends money to rent 3 more apartments. From now on, they can live separately. As the 3 of them are happily chatting, the personnel department runs over to announce that someone has come to apply for a job. Feng Ji adjusts his clothes and goes to the interview room. The person waiting there is none other than the spy Boss Zhou sent. The beautiful appearance of the girl leaves a deep impression on Feng Jie, but her resume doesn't meet the conditions to pass into their company. As soon as she hears that Feng Jie doesn't want to hire her, She starts crying and lamenting her poverty, telling her sad story of how her father died early, her mother is seriously ill, and she doesn't have a job, so she hasn't had anything to eat for 3 days. As soon as she finishes speaking, she falls to the ground. Feng Ji rushes over to help her up. Seeing her gobbling down 3 bowls of noodles, Feng Ji can't bear to drive her away, so he makes an exception and hires her. From that day on, she kept hanging around Feng Ji. But Feng Jie's heart is only set on Hong Yu, so he isn't moved at all by her concern. That night, Feng Jie proposes to his beloved, but she heartlessly rejects him. Feng Jie doesn't say anything. He sits alone, drinking alcohol. When he's completely drunk, he drags himself back to the company and catches the poor girl secretly searching for something in the company. She hurriedly makes an excuse that she has nowhere to go, glossing over the matter. At this time, Feng Jie is drunk. How can he distinguish right from wrong? So he doesn't suspect anything. On the contrary, he wants her to stay and talk to him. Seeing that Feng Ji smells of alcohol, she wants to find an excuse to escape, but he holds her back. At this time, Feng Ji doesn't know where he is. He thinks the person in front of him is Hong Yu, so he cries and begs her for everything. Seeing this, she can't bear to leave him alone and decides to stay and take care of him for one night. The next morning, when Feng Ji wakes up, she has brought him porridge. Feng Ji can't remember what happened last night, but he knows that the girl in front of him stayed up all night taking care of him. To thank her, Feng Ji takes her to the shopping mall to choose a lot of beautiful clothes for her, but she refuses all of them. Seeing her like this, Feng Ji doesn't know what to do, so he takes out the ring he used to propose to Hong Yu last night and gives it to her. Before his actions, she starts to feel wavering. As she's about to tell him that Boss Zhou sent her here as an informant, Feng Jie receives a phone call and hurriedly leaves. While he's on the phone, Boss Zhou's secretary suddenly appears and warns her that if she wants her mother to live a little longer, she shouldn't have any wild ideas. Quickly steal the source code for them. Perhaps it's because Heaven wants to help her, so the next day, when the company just opens, it receives customer feedback that there's a hole in the network. Therefore, Ding Tian is forced to take out the source code to fix the bug. Just then, the poor girl happens to pass by. Seeing Ding Tian plug the source code into the computer, she frantically bursts into the room and tells Ding Tian that Feng Jie is fighting with someone downstairs. As soon as he hears that, Ding Tian rushes out, forgetting that the source code is still plugged into the computer. Seeing Ding Tian has gone far away, she quickly turns back to grab the source code and runs away. Going downstairs, Ding Tian can't find Feng Jie anywhere. At this time, he remembers the source code and rushes back to the office. But the floppy disk has already flown away. Knowing that he's been tricked by the lure of the tiger from the mountain scheme, he hurriedly calls security to surround and arrest the poor girl. At this time, Boss Zhou's secretary is already waiting downstairs to pick her up. Seeing the ring that Feng Jie gave her, she feels extremely guilty. Taking advantage of the car stopping at a red light, she jumps out of the car and runs away. She wants to go back to return the source code to Ding Tian, but when she returns, she sees police officers standing all over the building. She is very scared and hurriedly runs to a telephone booth to call Feng Jie, asking him to meet her at the shopping center from last time. The appointed time has arrived. Just as she's about to run to his side, she discovers that there are several police officers disguised as civilians standing there, so she hurriedly runs away. On the run, due to not paying attention, she is caught by Boss Zhou's secretary. Boss Zhou forces her to hand over Tian Yue Xing. Seeing that she refuses to be honest, he orders her to be searched. After fulfilling his wish, he has his men chase her out of Shenzhen. Just as Boss Zhou is still pleased with himself for having the source code in hand, Feng Ji rushes over and comes to teach him a lesson. While the two sides are fighting, Ding Tian and Shan Wu arrive. Scared by what they saw, Boss Zhou starts to vent his anger on his followers. After the source code is stolen, Ding Tian holds a shareholder meeting. Losing the source code also means that there will be a series of pirated goods on the market soon. Currently, they still have more than 10 old copies in stock, so he decides to spend 5 million to run advertisements to sell off those copies. For the time being, he will retreat into seclusion to create Tian Yue Xing version 2. From now on, the administrative work will be handed over to them to handle everything. But he has no idea that in the days that follow, Feng Ji will personally press the self-destruct button for their future. After successfully copying and producing a pile of pirated goods, Boss Zhou doesn't know how to sell those goods, so he uses very attractive conditions to find Hong Yu and propose a partnership. Knowing that he used dirty tricks to steal the source code, not only does she not agree, but she also actively goes to the company to express her intention to acquire Tian Yue Xing. Ding Tian had already retreated into seclusion, so Feng Ji had full authority over foreign affairs. Because he still held a grudge, when Hong Yu offered to cooperate, he was still hesitant to agree immediately. Meanwhile, after pouring money into advertising, the trade fair also went very smoothly. Ding Tian stood up and assured the distributors that pirated versions would not appear in the next 3 months, and their goods would sell like hotcakes. Hearing the news that the pirated versions on Boss Zhou's side were in a difficult situation to sell, he was somewhat relieved. As long as Hong Yu didn't stand up to help him, they wouldn't have to worry. Ding Tian instructed Feng Jie to maintain this contact, and it would be even better if she could be persuaded to cooperate with them. That night, Feng Ji asked Hong Yu out to dinner, but he used the company's business to resolve personal matters and talk nonsense. Hong Yu didn't want him to talk nonsense anymore, so she turned and told him that if he couldn't give her a clear answer, then he should call Ding Tian over so she could discuss the matter. But at this time, hatred had completely taken over his reason. He kept adding fuel to the fire to make Hong Yu misunderstand Ding Tian. Hearing what he said, Hong Yu felt extremely offended, so she decided to join forces with Boss Zhou to overthrow Tian Yuxing. She contacted the distributors to promote the batch of goods in Boss Zhou's hands. Hearing that the software she was promoting was both excellent and cheap, they started scrambling to place orders. That day, while Ding Tian was still focusing on researching and upgrading the software, he received news that the collaborators had all turned around and were no longer receiving their goods. Several hundred old copies of the software were considered worthless. Looking at the daily sales volume of Zhou Shi, the three of them became more and more worried. Hong Yu was indeed a very powerful person. Even when Tian Yuxing gradually became famous in the market, it had never sold so many goods. Before long, their company filed a lawsuit against Zhou Shi, but Boss Zhou laughed and said that calling the police was useless. Now, no one could stop him, and making a fuss now would only help him polish his reputation. And reality proved that what he said was completely accurate. Due to insufficient evidence, they couldn't establish a case to accuse Zhou Shi. At this time, Bookworm had also successfully cracked the antivirus software that Ding Tian had written, and their company was in dire straits. Meanwhile, while standing in line to buy stocks, Shan Wu's wife had to go to the bathroom. She asked Qing Yue, who happened to be passing by, to stand in line for her. But when she returned, the man behind her started making trouble, telling her to go to the end of the line. Unable to argue with her, he simply pushed her out of the line. Just then, Xian Wu also arrives. Seeing his wife being touched by someone without saying a word, he rushes up to hit the person. In the chaos, a man pulls out a knife and stabs Qing Yue. She painfully falls to the ground. Before losing consciousness, she doesn't forget to tell them not to let her husband know about this. To prevent Ding Tian from discovering anything unusual, Xian Wu's wife hurriedly goes home to change clothes and then brings food to Ding Tian. Seeing him asking where his wife is and why she didn't come, she hurriedly tells him that her mother is seriously ill and her father is uncaring, so she had to buy a ticket and fly back to Beijing to take care of her mother. To make everything go smoothly, that night Qing Yue endures the pain and calls him to report her safety. With his wife's encouragement, Ding Tian finally completes the upgraded version of the software. He returns home to take a shower. Seeing the food laid out on the table, he thinks that his wife has returned. Just as he picks up his chopsticks to taste it, he realizes that the food is already spoiled. Feeling that something is not right, he calls Feng Ji to ask about it. At this time, he's groggily sleeping. Hearing the voice from the phone, he mumbles, "What are you calling me for?" Qing Yue is still in the hospital. Hearing this, he hurriedly rushed to the hospital. Seeing him arrive, Qing Yue asks him how the situation is. Knowing that her husband has succeeded, she smiles brightly. Ding Tian vows that he will prove his power to Boss Zhou and crush Zhou Shi. Meanwhile, Boss Zhou is giving Hong Yu a large reward for her to continue cooperating with Zhou Shi. But this time, she shakes her head and refuses. Returning to the company, she sees Ding Tian standing in front of the door, waiting for her. Hong Yu is still angry, so she coldly asks Ding Tian what he's doing here. At this time, he says he has something to discuss and wants to invite her out for tea. He tells Hong Yu that he has completed the upgrade of Tian Yuxing, and Zhou Shi's software has to run several laps behind him now. Hong Yu thinks that he wants to show off to her. But at this time, he says that he wants to pull her to his side to make money together. She turns and tells him that she had given them a chance to cooperate before, but they threw a bucket of cold water on her. What else do they want now? Hearing Hong Yu say that the reason she didn't agree to cooperate was that they had held a vote to reject her last time, Ding Tian is immediately stunned. Seeing the bewildered expression on his face, Hong Yu smiles. It turns out that everything was a trick that Feng Ji came up with himself. Under his sincere invitation, she finally hesitates. After thinking about it for a while, she still decides to refuse, saying that she doesn't see his sincerity. To convince her, he disregards everything and stands up to dance in the middle of the crowd. Hong Yu smiles brightly. Then she sets a condition that if he wants her to join their company, he must give her 25% of the shares. Hearing Hong Yu demand 25% of the shares, the others immediately object. But under his persuasion, they finally have to surrender. In the shareholders' meeting, Hong Yu stands up and guarantees that she can earn back 30 million for them in 1 year. Everyone thinks that she's bluffing. Currently, their company can barely sell 3 copies a day. But who is Hong Yu? 30 million is the lowest number she can estimate. With the unanimous consent of the shareholders, the next day, the upgraded version of Tian Yuxing is released to the market. The next issue to be resolved at this time is housing for Hong Yu, and the person in charge of personnel management at this time is Xian Wu's wife. Bringing out her thrifty nature, she tells Hong Yu to live with Feng Jie. When the company makes money, they will buy her a house. Hearing this, Feng Jie's heart is as happy as a flower blooming. This is truly a rare opportunity. As the old saying goes, fire near straw will eventually ignite. He doesn't believe he can win her over, Although he has handed over everything to Hong Yu, Ding Tian is still restless. He tells Xian Wu to take all the money in the safe to let her handle the matter, but Hong Yu refuses. She doesn't need this money. As soon as she finishes speaking, customers flock in, making everyone admire her abilities. After less than a month of joining the company, Hong Yu has successfully occupied the entire market. In less than 3 months, their revenue has reached 30 million as she had promised. On the other hand, the happier everyone is, the more sorrowful Boss Joe is. That night, when Hong Yu goes down to the company lobby, a car drives straight towards her. Boss Joe steps out of the car and threatens her. If they continue to squeeze his company like this, they should be careful. But she doesn't care much about this. She glances at him sideways and goes home. That night, while Hong Yu and Feng Jie are playing games, a sudden and urgent knock on the door sounds. As soon as the door opens, a group of people carrying sticks rushes into the house. The initial target of the group was Hong Yu, but now that they're hot-blooded, they just beat Feng Jie within an inch of his life. Hearing the screams coming from Hong Yu's house, Xian Wu hurriedly runs over to see what's going on. When he arrives, he sees blood everywhere on the floor. Feng Jie is lying unconscious in a corner. The two hurriedly called an ambulance to take him to the hospital. Seeing that Feng Jie has been beaten beyond recognition, he immediately turns and asks who did this. It's obvious to everyone that with the current situation, the only person behind this is Boss Joe. After returning home, they vow to avenge Feng Jie, but kind-hearted people like them will never resort to violence. They will make him lose convincingly. After everyone leaves, Feng Jie takes Hong Yu's hand and smiles foolishly, saying that this time it's a blessing in disguise and he has found his place in her heart. The next morning, Ding Tian goes to find Boss Joe. He uses a trick to make him admit to the bad things he did last night. Boss Joe is extremely arrogant. Not only does he admit to the bad things he did, but he also threatens him. If he continues to get in his way, he will be next. Boss Joe is a gangster, but Ding Tian is no pushover. It's not easy to mess with him. Boss Joe has no idea that his secretary has been bribed by Ding Tian, and all the words he just said were recorded by a recorder attached under the table. Ding Tian uses 200 to buy back the contents of the recorder and another 300 to have his secretary stand up as a witness to all the crimes he committed. The next morning, the police arrive to take him to the station. Without the obstacle in the way, the company's business is booming. That Lunar New Year, Ding Tian and his wife bought tickets and returned to Beijing to visit her parents. As soon as he sees the two of them return, his father-in-law closes the door in his face. Even when he kneels down and begs him to forgive him, he still despises him openly and insists on chasing him out. Ding Tian carries his suitcase and walks out of the house. Just as Ding Tian reaches the entrance of the alley, his wife hurriedly runs out wanting to go with him, but he advises her to stay at home and celebrate the New Year with her parents. After all, he doesn't want to become an enemy of her parents. Meanwhile, Feng Jie is also busy preparing things to go home for the New Year. The house is empty, with only Hong Yu lying on the sofa watching the fireworks explode in the sky. At this time, a knock on the door suddenly sounds. A group of people brought food to wish her a happy New Year. Although the atmosphere is lively and happy, she didn't order anything. Just then, Feng Jie suddenly appears at the door. This unexpected gift makes her very happy. A sweet and warm atmosphere permeates every corner of the house. At the same time, in Beijing, Ding Tian is celebrating New Year's Eve alone. Feng Jie calls to boast to him that he is sitting and enjoying a sweet and romantic New Year's Eve dinner with his beloved. Ding Tian tells him that if heaven has blessed him, he must seize this opportunity. That night, who knows how much alcohol they drank? Hong Yu leans on him and falls asleep drunkenly. Before the New Year's bell could even ring, someone came knocking on his door. As soon as he opened the door, he saw his wife standing there, tears streaming down her face, telling him to quickly take her back to Shenzhen. After the Lunar New Year, all the work at the company started to get busy again. Just then, the Daily News reported that Microsoft was about to enter the Chinese market. Ding Tian knew that if Microsoft successfully entered the market, no one would look at his software anymore. With the motto of know yourself and know your enemy, and you will win 100 battles, he brought his wife to their headquarters to conduct a survey, leaving the work at the company to Hong Yu to handle. That night, Feng Jie went to the shopping center with her. After walking around for a while, he was too tired and sat by the side of the road smoking a cigarette. Just then, he saw a familiar figure flash by. He hurriedly ran over and grabbed her, but she resolutely shook off his hand and got into a car and left. As the old saying goes, fire near straw will eventually ignite. If a man and a woman live together, something will happen sooner or later. But Hong Yu still maintained a glimmer of reason. In the end, in a moment of passion, she kicked Feng Jie out of the house. The next day, while she was concentrating on her work, she received a customer complaint that their order was for 50 copies of the software, but the warehouse only delivered 5 copies to them, and there have been many such complaints this month. So Hong Yu decided to personally go to the warehouse to check the situation. The warehouse manager is a newly arrived employee. She is leisurely eating sunflower seeds and reading comics, and her attitude is also very arrogant. Relying on having family members here, she thinks she's above everyone else. Hong Yu knows that she's a family member of Shan Wu, so she doesn't argue about this matter and goes straight to the main issue. Hearing her say that dozens of copies were missing from the order shipped out today, she opens the ledger and checks it. Hong Yu is furious and decides to fire her immediately. At this time, Feng Jie is sitting in a luxurious restaurant, reminiscing about the past with the poor girl from years ago. Just as the story is heating up, a phone call comes, reporting that something has happened at the company. Xian Wu's wife, relying on the fact that her husband holds a considerable amount of shares in the company, runs over to lecture Hong Yu. She thinks that sending the wrong goods is no big deal, and if they send too few, they can make up for it. It doesn't matter. She doesn't know that this not only affects shipping costs, but also affects the company's credibility. While the two are arguing fiercely, Feng Ji also arrives. He advises the two to calm down first, and they can talk about this later. But for someone who puts work first, like Hong Yu, she has to quickly resolve this matter. If she doesn't leave, she will. Realizing that the situation is getting more and more serious, Feng Jie hurriedly calls Ding Tian to come back quickly. Hearing his urgent tone, Ding Tian buys a ticket and flies back to Shenzhen immediately. He has summoned a meeting of the board of directors to review the situation. Xian Wu knows that his wife is wrong, so he just laughs it off. But his wife jumps up and accuses Ding Tian. Hong Yu is authoritarian, thinks she's above everyone and wants to fire whoever she wants. It's as if she opened this company. Seeing his wife getting more and more out of line, Xian Wu stands up and growls, "If you're not going, then I'll go." Seeing her husband go crazy, she finally agrees to go outside with Qing Yue. No matter how Qing Yue tries to persuade her, she still thinks that she's right. Meanwhile, in the meeting room, Hong Yu is seriously reorienting the company's operations. They are a company specializing in writing software, not an agricultural center. They can't just stuff unqualified people in like this. Hong Yu's words were originally aimed at Xian Wu's wife, but hearing this, he also gets annoyed. If they're going to call them farmers and uneducated, then fine, let both of them leave. His wife then continues to bring a younger cousin, with an education that hasn't even passed the 2nd grade, to stuff into the company. Xian Wu can't stand it anymore. He runs out and stands in front of his wife saying, "If you want to hire someone, just hire them at home to play with. The first person to be fired by the company will be you." After her husband leaves, she calls Qing Yu, asking her to help persuade Ding Tian. But Hong Yu is right about this. If they let family relationships affect things, their work will never develop. If they just kick Xian Wu's wife out of the company like this, it would be too ruthless. Xian Wu's wife can't stand this any longer. The next day, she goes to Hong Yu's office, using the most offensive language to mock her. Hearing her fabricated accusations, she also gets angry and raises her hand to slap her a slap. So the two women start fighting. Luckily, the men rush over in time to stop them. The commotion attracts the attention of many employees in the company. Seeing Hong Yu angrily leave, Ding Tian knows that he shouldn't hesitate any longer. He must quickly remove the source of all the trouble from here. In the next few days, no one sees any sign of Hong Yu. Seeing Feng Jie looking completely calm, Ding Tian gets angry and starts to blame him. "You don't know how to care about the person you love. Now the work at the company has piled up into a mountain. Without her, how are we going to solve this mess?" At this time, Feng Jie tells him, as long as Xian Wu's wife is still there, she won't come back. Ding Tian secretly blames himself for being the CEO but only focusing on trivial things all along, and entrusting all the responsibilities to others. After thinking for a long time, he asks his wife out, intending to tell her to go back and take care of the home with that woman, leaving the front line to them. But he's afraid that his words will hurt her, so he keeps stammering. Seeing him hesitating like this, she can guess what he wants to say. So she takes the initiative to offer to leave the company so that her husband doesn't need to feel guilty. Ding Tian hugs his wife in his arms. His heart is a mix of emotions. That afternoon, he waited under Hong Yu's building, waiting for half the day before seeing her appear. Reaching her apartment, he tries to persuade her to quickly return to the company. If there's anything that she's unhappy with, she can tell him directly, and he will handle it. The company needs her, and he needs her too. Every word he says makes her feel touched, so she just looks at him attentively. With these words from him, she feels that everything she had to pay is worth it. Feng Jie is standing outside the door, listening to them pour their hearts out. Finally, he can't help but go inside and interrupt their conversation. Ding Tian finally achieves his goal. He happily hands her back to Feng Ji and picks up his bag to go home. Meanwhile, Qing Yu is sadly packing her things. In reality, she also can't bear to leave the place that they've poured so much sweat and tears into building. Just then, Xian Wu's wife rushes over. "I won't let you go. I, a farmer's daughter, didn't get a careful education, and I'm hindering the company's business. Leaving this place is fine, but you are a highly educated person. There's no reason for you to leave here. Moreover, if you leave here, what if that vixen takes your husband away?" Xing Yue doesn't want to listen to her nonsense. She immediately picks up her things and leaves. Going downstairs, she meets Hong Yu. Seeing the sincerity in her eyes, she feels somewhat relieved. After resolving the internal issues, the company returns to its normal routine. Ding Tian asks Hong Yu to ask the bookworm out to dinner. After all, they're old friends, and the two shake hands happily. Knowing that the bookworm is the one who successfully cracked the original Tian Yuxing, he wants to invite him to cooperate in defeating Microsoft and usher in a new era. But Ding Tian's dream is too lofty, and his comfort zone is too small. So he flatly refuses his offer. The company is growing, and its working capital has reached 50,000 RMB. So Ding Tian wants to expand into investing in other fields. The four of them have different opinions and argue endlessly. But the common point of the other three is that they unanimously oppose the idea of focusing on investing in the development of new computer operating systems, because the profit from this industry isn't high, and the risk is high. Spending 50,000 RMB on investment is fortunate if they don't incur additional debt, let alone expect a profit or recover capital. But Ding Tian is also very firm in his decision. When Qing Yue is hanging clothes on the balcony, her stomach suddenly cramps. Her mother hurriedly calls for an ambulance to take her to the hospital. Just as he returns to the door, Ding Tian sees the doctor putting his wife on a stretcher. He hurriedly jumped into the car to go with her. Feng Jie sees in the newspaper that their company is preparing to develop its own Chinese operating system. He goes to the hospital, but Ding Tian uses the excuse of having to take care of his wife to decline the matter. To prevent Ding Tian from dragging the company into a tragic situation, he makes a private appointment with the other two to pull votes for his project. He also plots to overthrow the CEO's chair. But on the scheduled day of the shareholders' meeting, Ding Tian is nowhere to be seen. Feng Ji calls to see where he is, and he uses his wife as a delaying tactic. Knowing that he and the people at the company are entering a stage of losing common ground, Qing Yue advises him to respect everyone's opinion, but to have everyone use the software he writes is the biggest goal of his life, so he doesn't want to give it up. Meanwhile, the curly-haired lawyer is helping Feng Ji plan how to deal with Ding Tian. As the two are happily plotting, the police rush in to arrest him and take him to the station. The next day, because they couldn't gather enough evidence, the police had to release him. As soon as he steps out of the station, he immediately blames Ding Tian for reporting him, causing him to go to jail. Taking advantage of everyone being present, Feng Ji pulls them back to open a shareholders meeting, but he has no idea that, despite going through the back door to play dirty tricks, Ding Tian's plan is still approved. He becomes enraged and, in front of the board of directors, disowns Ding Tian. From now on, whatever they want to do has nothing to do with him anymore. After the plan is approved and the path forward is set, the plan to develop a new operating system can proceed smoothly. Hearing the news that the new project has been successfully developed, the bookworm then comes to cooperate with him. After everything gradually calms down, Ding Tian goes to find Feng Ji to persuade him to return. But he ridicules his ideals as being unrealistic and says that one day he will harm those who follow him. After saying this, he doesn't have any nostalgia and turns around and leaves. Ignoring all of Feng Jie's advice, he invests all the company's assets in this project. He invites experts specializing in software research to cooperate. At the celebration banquet, he and everyone raise their glasses, determined to devote all their energy to this project to glorify the face of the country. From the day he left, Feng Ji has always been immersed in alcohol and women, becoming a well-known playboy that everyone wants to approach. That day, while he was with several women, the curly-haired lawyer came to express her true feelings for him. But in his drunken state, he, like someone who's lost his mind, not only refused but also humiliated her. The curly-haired lawyer slapped him and threw the glass of wine on the table at him. After being slapped painfully, he finally woke up and hurriedly chased after her and hugged her tightly. The next day, Feng Jie went to the company and withdrew 200,000 to go on a trip with his girlfriend. While the two were sitting and drinking, the curly-haired lawyer advised him to separate from the company to protect the money he could get. So, he had the yacht turned back to shore, preparing to break off with Ding Tian. Meanwhile, Hong Yu was struggling to beg the distributors to persevere a little longer and not rush to return the goods. The market situation was getting more and more urgent. Hong Yu hurriedly went to inform Ding Tian that if it continued like this, the company wouldn't be able to survive for more than half a year. It never rains but it pours. Just when the company was in its most difficult situation, Feng Ji returned, insisting on withdrawing from the company. As soon as Ding Tian agreed, he immediately called his girlfriend to help him complete all the relevant procedures. Hong Yu didn't want him to turn on everyone like this, so she called him to the office to talk. But having reached this point, he didn't care about anyone anymore. That night, everyone gathered at Ding Tian's house to discuss countermeasures. Fortunately, in this storm, Ding Tian still has two friends who support all his decisions. Based on the total working capital, Feng Ji will receive more than 20 million when he withdraws. But with the company's current economic potential, if they spend all the money to pay him, it's really not feasible. So Ding Tian humbled himself and asked Feng Ji to let him pay in installments, but he just sneered and indicated that he didn't agree. If he didn't quickly pay him the money, he should wait to meet him in court. In the next few days, the situation worsened. Hong Yu went to find Ding Tian to analyze the current situation. Ding Tian, with chili peppers in his mouth, asked her, "Why did you know that this direction was so risky, but you still didn't stop me?" Hong Yu didn't know how to answer. She just followed his example and put chili peppers in her mouth to bite, but she forgot that she couldn't eat spicy food, choking and crying. While he's laughing heartily, Ching Yue walks in. Seeing the scene in front of her, she feels extremely jealous. But she knows that he's been under a lot of pressure lately, so she suppresses it so as not to cause him more trouble. Meanwhile, Feng Jie doesn't bother to show any respect for their past friendship and files a lawsuit against Ding Tian. Their company is sealed, and research activities have to stop. The situation is becoming critical. Hong Yu goes to find Feng Ji to negotiate, asking him not to push the company to the end of the road. But now he only cares about money. The company is nothing to him. His words make her feel extremely hurt. It turns out that she had recognized the wrong person. That night, a man runs to Ding Tian's house and throws a bomb, almost causing him to lose his home. Ding Tian suspects that Feng Ji ordered someone to do this, so he goes to find him to settle the score. At this time, Feng Ji still doesn't know what happened. But as soon as he hears Crewcut bragging about his accomplishments, he becomes furious and grabs the guy, warning him not to do anything to Ding Tian's family. Before long, Ding Tian calls him and asks him to come out to meet. He knows Ding Tian's personality too well. Although he knows that he will be beaten when he gets there, he still comes to prove his innocence. At first, Ding Tian isn't sure if this is related to Feng Jie. But as soon as he mentions the firecracker throwing incident, his blood boils and he rushes to beat him up. Although this time wasn't Feng Jie's intention, it did originate from him. So even if he's being beaten, he doesn't fight back until Ding Tian squeezes his neck, almost suffocating him, and he struggles and pushes him away. Seeing how he's resisting, Ding Tian seems to realize that he has beaten the wrong person. But the anger is still there. After beating him up, he gets in his car and speeds away. This time, consider that the two have evened the score. Feng Ji is determined to sue him to the end. The research room is sealed, and hundreds of experts gather under the company every day to wait. For the glory of the country, they are willing to work for him for free. At the same time, Feng Jie's girlfriend also comes to meet Ching Yue about the incident that happened last night to express her sincerity. The two of them also agree to reduce the debt for Ding Tian. They only need him to pay 20 million. But there's only 13 million left in the company's fund. Ding Tian has to sell his shares to make up another 7 million to pay him. Feng Jie receives the money, and the sealing order is also lifted. Bookworm leads the team of experts with enthusiasm and starts working. But difficulties still haven't stopped here. The market is declining, and the company's salary is not enough to pay the employees. Their new software will not be released for nearly half a year, and still needs money for investment. As the situation gets more and more difficult, Ding Tian assigns the research team the task of releasing a demo version to attract public opinion and increase investment. Then he proposes that Hong Yu implement the biological drug project that she mentioned last time. Now they need to earn 50 million quickly, so he'll do whatever she says. Meanwhile, Ching Yue is also very bored at home. Ding Tian's mother takes care of all the big and small things in the house. She just eats and sits idle. Xian Wu's wife often asks her to go out to play, but she's reluctant to spend money, so she just follows behind her, looking no different from a maid. That night, she invites her to go out to play and doesn't return home until late at night. Seeing her mother-in-law holding her child asleep, she has to tiptoe out to the living room to wait for her husband to return. Ding Tian doesn't return until almost morning. Seeing her pitiful appearance, he also feels distressed, so he advises her that if she's too bored at home, she can go out to work to clear her mind. As an outstanding student, she can live anywhere she's dropped. The next day, the demo release goes as planned. After waiting for a long time, the reporters in the hall start to suspect whether this is a trick by the company to attract public opinion. At this time, Shan Wu and the expert leading the team bring the demo version, making everything go very smoothly. The expert leading the team is a well-known professor at the top of the programming industry. He constantly praises the company's vision and strength. Just when everything seems to be going well, the professor faints and falls to the ground due to overwork. He keeps reminding him to persevere to the end. Meanwhile, Feng Ji also takes the 20 million he got from the old company and uses it to invest in real estate. But everything doesn't go as planned. One moment, he's confidently telling his girlfriend to leave everything to him. The next moment, he's slapped in the face by reality. All the wealthy classmates he knows are unwilling to invest and share profits with him. Seeing that the situation is not promising, his girlfriend remembers a sworn brother of hers and calls him to ask him out. The two of them arrive at the agreed location at the correct time, but they wait and don't see the other person. While the two are wondering if they've come to the wrong place, he finally appears. Looking at his dilapidated car, Feng Jie is somewhat doubtful, but his girlfriend tells him that only newly rich people like him like luxury cars, while those who are rich for 3 generations all drive dilapidated cars. On the day of the contract signing, they wait, but don't see the guy bring the money. He starts to get anxious. While the two are in a panic, he finally drives a truck loaded with money to them. The contract is signed successfully, and the business is getting more and more prosperous. Feng Jie then calls Hong Yu to show off and invites her to come work for him. But no matter how much she has to suffer, she will wholeheartedly follow Ding Tian. Meanwhile, their company is also in a desperate situation. Their working capital is only a small amount left. Jian Wu takes the financial statement and expresses his intention to reduce the number of research staff. Ding Tian immediately turns to glare at him, saying he shouldn't even think about touching them. As the company's situation declines, Ding Tian's temper is getting worse and worse. He blames Jian Wu for everything. After being missing for several days to investigate the market, Hong Yu finally appears. She wants to invest in developing the functional food industry. At first, Ding Tian doesn't agree, but after hearing Hong Yu's analysis of the market and profits, he nods in agreement. But they have to ask Jian Wu for his opinion on this matter. If he agrees, they will start working, avoiding the tragedy of Feng Jie from happening again. For Jian Wu, as long as it's something that Ding Tian wants to do, he will agree wholeheartedly. But to develop a new project, they also need money. Just buying the formula for making the drug costs 1.5 million. Although the formula is not that expensive in the first place, it already has a reputation. Adding to their reputation as a high-tech scientific and technological company, they believe that they will soon be able to take over the entire market nationwide. But currently, there's less than 4 million left in the company's account. Ding Tian starts calculating that they will only have 55 days to create a miracle. After discussing everything, Hong Yu hurriedly takes 1.5 million to buy back the formula. Looking at the formula written in 1 or 2 lines, Jian Wu is secretly furious. But Ding Tian tells him that the 1.5 million they spent was worth it because their product will be advertised by 7 famous ambassadors as soon as it hits the market. He tells him to calculate if it's profitable or not. But for now, to develop this project, they need 5 million. Hearing this, Jian Wu jumps. He's already given them all the money. Where can he dig up more? Hong Yu tells him that he doesn't need to worry about this. She has thought of a way to make money. This time, they will publish advertisements first to let a wide range of people know about them before they start producing the finished products. The money people use to deposit will be used as an investment. Before long, everything starts to go according to plan. Their company's venture into the production of functional foods has caused a great stir in the market. After being in the dark for so long, they can finally lift their heads. Ding Tian enthusiastically claps his hands loudly. Meanwhile, after hearing the news that the company is developing a new project, Qing Yue feels extremely angry. The advertisement says that the medicine they make can cure all diseases. Isn't that just deceiving people? So she wants her husband to stop this project immediately. Ding Tian doesn't agree, so the two separate in an unhappy atmosphere. From the day their company put the tonic on the market, its reputation has been growing, hindering Da Wei's business. Knowing that Feng Jie and Ding Tian were once brothers, he asks him to call Ding Tian over so that the two sides can get to know each other. After all, it's better to have more friends and fewer enemies. But Feng Jie immediately refuses. He doesn't want to see Ding Tian again. In the next few days, the auction for distribution rights proceeds as scheduled. Before his attractive invitations, the distributors actively fought for the distribution rights. His heart is as happy as a flower blooming. The next day, more than 20 million in deposits are transferred to their account. Ding Tian hurriedly runs to inform the programming department of the good news so that everyone can work with peace of mind. On the day the functional foods are released, people flock to buy the goods like weaving cloth. When Da Wei arrives at the pharmacy, his products have been pushed to a corner to display Ding Tian's tonic. So Da Wei tells his subordinates to produce a new treatment that is shorter and sells for a lower price to promote sales. On the day their products are released, a competitive war between the two companies begins. Hong Yu has also anticipated this situation, so she also uses the same tricks as the opponent. Furthermore, she organizes activities to give gifts to thank customers. To ensure that nothing unexpected happens, Ding Tian also personally participates in the activities. But unexpectedly, while the activities are in full swing, a group of gangsters comes, smashing the booth and assaulting the people present. Everything turns into a mess. After struggling all day outside, as soon as he takes off his coat, Hong Yu comes to give him the smear campaign that will be published in the newspaper tomorrow. Seeing this, he hurriedly calls the newspaper office to stop them. But the editor, not respecting him, immediately hangs up. The next morning, he runs to the newspaper office to question the editor-in-chief and the reporters why they don't investigate the information carefully before reporting it. These absurd rumors have caused them to lose so much property. But the editor-in-chief doesn't like him either, so he deliberately makes trouble. Before long, the two of them start fighting. Fortunately, Qing Yue arrives in time to stop them. Knowing that his wife works under this rude editor-in-chief, he becomes even angrier and tells her to leave quickly. But she doesn't agree. After calming down, Ding Tian contacts Hong Yu and tells her to remove all the advertisements and publish a letter of apology. Ding Tian's sincere and well-intentioned actions also help him to successfully turn the tide. At that time, Da Wei, with a belly full of anger, came to find Feng Jie, wanting him to deal with Ding Tian for him. But Feng Jie is a man of principle. He will never harm his brothers, so he can't help him with this matter. Ding Tian parks his car under the newspaper office, waiting for Qing Yue to get off work. Originally, he came here because he wanted to make peace with her, but she refuses to understand and keeps calling him a swindler. As the two are arguing, someone calls. Qing Yue doesn't want to hinder his billion-dollar business anymore and pushes the door open and gets out of the car. Meanwhile, as Hong Yu is on the road, she sees Boss Joe, the famous man from years ago, picking up leftover food thrown in people's trash cans to eat. Seeing his gluttonous appearance, she can't help but feel sorry for him, so she goes forward and invites him to eat a delicious meal. She tells him that if he needs her help in the future, don't hesitate to tell her. After eating, the two leave the restaurant. Boss Joe suddenly feels a sharp pain in his stomach, but he still pretends to be fine. Returning to the company, she informs Ding Tian that since the time they published the apology, their revenue has increased sharply. If this momentum continues, the monthly revenue will soon exceed 100 million RMB. Ding Tian can't believe that in misfortune, he still encountered such good fortune. After that, she tells him about the incident of meeting Boss Joe on the street. To tell the truth, he doesn't want this competition to push the stores competing with him into a path of hatred. But seeing the benefits before their eyes, who wants to stop? While Ding Tian is engrossed in writing code, Hong Yu comes to find him to ask for his permission to continue the war. She wants to acquire all the markets that the opposing company is occupying. Before leaving, Ding Tian reminds her to be careful on the road. Hong Yu smiles and leaves. On the other hand, Da Wei continues to find Feng Jie to ask Ding Tian out. At first he doesn't want to help him, but as soon as he hears him threaten that if he doesn't help, the net will break and the fish will die, and the two of them will sink together, he has no choice but to call Ding Tian and ask him to come to the sauna. The two leaders in the industry meet. At first, they are shaking hands happily, but before long, they smell of gunpowder. Da Wei actively admits defeat and tells him to spare his northeastern market. If he continues to be stubborn and doesn't let go, don't blame him for taking cruel action against Hong Yu. As the smell of gunpowder starts to intensify, Feng Jie hurriedly intervenes to stop Ding Tian. After saying goodbye, he also stands up and leaves. Reaching the door, he quickly calls Hong Yu to tell her to pay attention to her safety. That night, after arguing with his girlfriend, Feng Jie gets drunk and runs to find Hong Yu. He constantly expresses his love for her and also says that even if Ding Tian gets divorced or goes bankrupt in the future, she doesn't need him. Hearing this, Hong Yu yells at him, "Even if that's the case, what's it got to do with you?" Seeing the person in his heart getting further and further away, he goes crazy and tries to force her into the street. But Hong Yu is not someone to be trifled with. She kicks him in the groin and decisively gets in the car and leaves. Feng Jie's hatred at this time has also reached its peak. He decides to sit on the same front line as Da Wei, treating Ding Tian as his enemy. To curry favor with Feng Jie, Da Wei is willing to give up his position as general manager to him. To sabotage Ding Tian's business, Feng Jie finds some fake doctors to organize free health checkups and advises them not to use the tonic that those people are selling. Seeing more and more people coming to return the goods, the company's employees finally realize something is wrong and hurriedly run over to argue. Unexpectedly, one of those people starts pretending to roll on the ground to make trouble. While the scene is in chaos, another group of people disguised as salespeople rushes in to smash things and assault others. Receiving the news, the three leaders hurriedly rush to the hospital to comfort the patients and also guarantee to pay them reasonable compensation. This doesn't need to be said to know who did it. Hong Yu, after leaving the hospital, immediately goes to find Feng Jie. Unexpectedly, he uses a slanderous tone to ridicule the relationship between her and Ding Tian. Unable to bear it any longer, she opens the bottle of wine on the table and pours it on him. The opponent then continues to spread rumors that the products they sell are harmful to young children. Ding Tian, upon receiving the news, immediately conducts a meeting to find countermeasures. Before long, the false news spreads everywhere. While out shopping, Qing Yuwei also hears the old women in the market gossiping about this. So when she sees her mother putting the tonic into her child's milk, she immediately takes it and throws it away. That evening, when Ding Tian returns home, Qing Yuwei takes out the newspaper to question him. Although he explains that the drugs they produce have been approved by the state with safety thresholds, in Qing Yuei's eyes, he is now like a treacherous merchant. As long as there's money, he'll do anything. Qing Yuei's questioning at this time is like the straw that broke the camel's back. Ding Tian tells her that this is his personal matter and she should never interfere again. Then, despite his mother's repeated attempts to stop him, Ding Tian resolutely grabs his bag and leaves the house. In a fit of anger, he goes to Feng Jie's house to blame him for daring to fabricate the truth and tarnish his reputation. If that's what he wants, he's willing to let the net break and the fish die and play to the end. Witnessing this scene, his girlfriend also stands up to criticize him, saying that what he's doing is indeed a bit too much. But now he's doing everything he can to prove that he's completely superior to Ding Tian. Being betrayed by his brother and suspected by his loved ones makes him feel extremely hurt, so he goes out to drink to relieve his worries. Now the only person he can ask out to talk to is Hong Yu. After pouring out all his troubles, the two start swaying to the music and soon get drunk. Before Hong Yu steps into the taxi, Ding Tian suddenly pulls her back and hugs her tightly. Then the two exchange a passionate kiss. At this time, Ding Tian still retains the last bit of reason to prevent himself from making another mistake. After expressing the words he's been burying in his heart for so long, she turns around and leaves. Ding Tian knows that he owes her in this life. The next day, everyone sits down to discuss countermeasures to deal with the false news in the newspaper. Feng Ji's trick is indeed vicious. Even if they sue in court now, they can't compensate for the losses they have suffered. Meanwhile, Da Wei is constantly praising Feng Ji as a genius, who with just 2 tricks was able to make Ding Tian suffer heavy losses. Before long, the court session to hear the scandal between the 2 companies arrives. After arguing constantly, Feng Jie finally admits to his slander and libel and pays Ding Tian 2 million. Seeing this, Da Wei now knows that Feng Ji hates Ding Tian 100,000 times more than he does. He's willing to spend a huge amount of money to cut off Ding Tian's path to making money. After winning the battle and returning, his girlfriend comes to find him, saying that she's pregnant, but before he can react, she opens the door and leaves. In the final days of the year, Ding Tian starts to draw up a new plan for the company's development in the coming year. He wants to launch a trade war with Feng Jie's company. Currently, he has 2 options. First, make sure to win every battle. Second, strike quickly and decisively. This battle cannot end in a situation where the net breaks and the fish die. They must fight to the end to find out who can survive until the end. Everyone present here is our warrior who has fought side by side with Ding Tian through a period of hardship, so this time they also want to take a risk. The meeting ends in a state of surging enthusiasm. At this time, only Shan Wu is depressed and muttering to Ding Tian that he wants to convene a shareholders meeting. Under Ding Tian's questioning, he timidly says that he wants to take some money to give his year-end bonuses to the employees. As soon as he finishes speaking, Ding Tian stands up to object. The money in the company's fund must be reserved to focus on developing the software. At this time, Shan Wu doesn't hesitate any longer. He stands up to object to his plan because it's too dangerous. If he's not careful, all their hard work will be for nothing. But everything is now too late. Ding Tian doesn't want to listen to anyone's opinion anymore. He believes that his plan is too perfect. If it succeeds, they will become the overlords of the industry. Shan Wu can't hold back his anger anymore and stands up to accuse him. Hearing Shan Wu mention Feng Ji, he loses his temper and accidentally tells Shan Wu to leave. Shan Wu's sincere heart is finally thrown to the dogs. He painfully walks away without turning his head. The office is now only left with 2 people. Hong Yu not only doesn't blame him, but also smiles to cheer him up. After Ding Tian calms down, she advises him to go home for the new year first. The remaining matters can be discussed later. After returning home, Shan Wu sits silently on the sofa, smoking. His wife keeps nagging him endlessly. Ding Tian is indeed a genius, but he's too selfish. For his dream, he can put everything at stake, even his brothers. Before long, Ding Tian calls him and asks him to come downstairs to talk. He tells Jian Wu that the software development has also made new progress. If they want to succeed and make a lot of money, they must take risks. Look outside. In the country and abroad, who can succeed without taking risks? Ding Tian's words at this time have also made Shan Wu begin to waver in his position. But to keep him, Ding Tian still has to play the sentimental card. He recalls the old days and asks Shan Wu to stay and help him. The next day, seeing Shan Wu carrying his bag to the company again, his wife is furious. He's really only good at talking big. After being released from prison, Boss Zhou's whole family has to squeeze into a dilapidated house. He ended up in this situation all because of Ding Tian. Therefore, when he learns that Da Wei is planning to harm him, he immediately seeks him out. Already suffering from a serious illness, he wants to use his death to overthrow Ding Tian. Seeing that he demands 200 as soon as he opens his mouth, Da Wei smiles skeptically, wondering if he and Ding Tian are in cahoots. Hearing this, he takes out his end-stage liver cancer medical record from his pocket. Reduced to this state, he hates Ding Tian to the bone. Now, even if he dies, he has to drag him down with him. Boss Zhou presents his plan in detail to Crew Cut. When he dies, he will hold a Da Wei tonic bottle in his hand. As long as a picture of it is taken and published in the newspaper, the public opinion will point directly at Ding Tian. Hearing his detailed plan, Da Wei no longer has any doubts and gives him an extra 200. Having obtained the money for his children's education and a better life for his wife, his eyes fill with tears as he toasts Da Wei. That night, he hugs the heavy bag of money and returns home. Just as he enters the door, he hears his wife complaining about him being gone all day without a trace, and that the children's tuition has not been paid for a month. He slowly walks to sit beside his wife and opens the bag of money in his hand. Seeing the thick, flat stacks of money inside the bag, his wife is very surprised and asks where he got so much money. Boss Zhou doesn't say anything but takes his son's hand and tells his wife and son to live well. Before long, Da Wei finds him and brings him a bottle of poison. Da Wei tells him to leave his family to him. Hearing this, he is relieved, tremblingly takes the bottle of poison, takes one last puff of his cigarette, and drinks the bottle in his hand dry. Da Wei stands outside. As soon as he hears the clanging sound in the house, he immediately runs in and quickly begins to set up as he was instructed and orders someone to take a picture. At this time, Ding Tian has no idea that a tragedy is about to befall him. He calmly stands in front of 10 distributors, clearly telling them about a bright future. That night, Da Wei brings the photo they took to meet Feng Ji, discussing how to make Ding Tian suffer. As soon as he sees the picture in his hand, Feng Ji is horrified and hurriedly calls him outside to talk. After all, they were once brothers. He doesn't want to force him to the point of no return, so he flatly refuses. Returning to the table, he begins to ponder. His girlfriend at this time asks how things should be resolved, because they know how serious the consequences will be if this picture gets out. Not wanting to see his former brother end up in a dead end, Feng Jie secretly sends the picture they just took to Ding Tian's company for him to handle. Seeing the picture, Hongyu panics and immediately calls Ding Tian, but he is busy wooing his wife and has no time to answer her phone. The situation is urgent, so she has to run to Ding Tian's house to disturb him. Seeing the picture in her hand, his mind explodes. Boss Zhou is dead. The first thing he wants to do is go comfort his family. Knowing his intention, Hongyu immediately stops him. She can tell at a glance that this is a conspiracy set up to overthrow them. So surely now thousands of reporters are flocking to Boss Zhou's house to hunt for news. If they show up now, they will become the focus of people's attacks. Ding Tian is very confused at this time. Hongyu tells him to calm down first. Then they will go to the company and think of a way to solve it slowly. In anger, Hongyu calls Feng Jie to scold him. While driving on the road, he can't conveniently answer the phone. He tells her to talk about it when he gets home later. But at this time, Ding Tian snatches the phone and constantly questions him about what happened. Feng Jie can't bear Ding Tian's domineering ways anymore and turns to blame him for always blaming others and never looking back to see who he has offended. The two of them curse more and more fiercely. Ding Tian threatens that if he doesn't resolve this matter today, he will drag Feng Jie's entire company down into the pit together. Hearing these words, Feng Jie's anger explodes. He can no longer control the steering wheel. The tragedy begins from this moment. Hearing the crashing sound from the other side of the phone, Ding Tian's mind is spinning. Seeing his bewildered face, his friend hurriedly runs over and asks what happened. At this time, he can only stammer out that something bad has happened. When Feng Ji wakes up, he is covered in injuries. Despite the severe injuries on his body, Feng Ji insists on going to find his wife. But when he arrives, he only sees his wife lying quietly there, covered with a white cloth. Feng Jie hurriedly rushes to the bedside and flips the white cloth covering her face. Looking at her bruised and bloody face, his heart seems to shatter. As he is wailing and calling his wife's and children's names, Ding Tian and his group also arrive. As soon as he sees him peeking into the hospital room, Feng Ji rushes over and punches him repeatedly in the face. It takes several men to stop him. Otherwise, Ding Tian's life would be difficult to keep. As dawn breaks, Ding Tian returns home. Seeing his bloodied face, Qing Yue keeps asking what happened. Ding Tian cries and tells his wife what happened. To this point, he deeply regrets why he called Feng Ji then. Since Boss Zhou's incident, public opinion has always been aimed at their company. The Zhou family is holding a press conference, pleading their innocence and complaining to the media in order to accuse their company. Ding Tian originally wanted to use money to settle this matter, but the number of reporters and broadcasters who came was too large, and they could do nothing. Seeing the accusations in the media, Hongyu is also very helpless and doesn't know what to do. Qing Yue, who is a close friend of the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, hears the news and asks him out to ask for his help. The editor-in-chief also realizes that there must be hidden secrets in this matter, but the evidence is clear, so he can't do anything. The editor-in-chief tells her to advise her husband. Everything has become like this. He should withdraw from the functional food industry and focus on developing the software. He shouldn't let everything come to nothing in the end. Hearing his words, Qing Yue goes to the company. While everyone is gathered to find countermeasures to resolve this matter smoothly, she rushes in, insisting on seeing her husband privately. Realizing that the atmosphere is getting more and more tense, Hongyu pauses the meeting to give them a private space to talk. As soon as Qing Yue opens her mouth, she keeps questioning the relationship between him and Hongyu. She really doesn't understand why her husband is so stubbornly throwing himself into the project that she wants. The things that have happened recently have been enough to give him a headache. Now there's even more trouble, making him unable to stay calm. He rolls his eyes and snaps at her. Seeing her husband like this, she still doesn't flinch and insists that he stay away from Hongyu. But the company is in chaos. How can he let her go? Seeing that she can't hold her husband back alone, she also brings up the reason to take her child to the hospital to be examined, hoping that he will fulfill his duty as a father. Then she immediately turns around and leaves. Returning home, Hongyu tells Shanwu's wife everything that happened. Hearing this, she happily encourages her to be tough. Now they just need to sit there and wait for Ding Tian to come back and bow his head in apology. It turns out that Feng Ji ordered someone to smash the company's booth last night. He just heard the news and hurriedly rushed over to stop the bad guys, but no one listened. So they rushed into each other, creating a melee. Before long, the police arrive and arrest everyone and take them to the station. After waiting and waiting but still not seeing her husband, Qing Yu hugs her child and goes to the hospital herself. Under the doctor's diagnosis, the child's condition is very serious and requires a bone marrow aspiration to be tested. The child's heart-wrenching cry makes her heart ache. But the test results that follow are even more deafening than ever. Her daughter has gone deaf. Moreover, they have missed the golden time to completely cure her disease. At this time, Shan Wu has also rescued her husband from the detention center. As soon as he's released, he quickly runs home. Only then does he learn that his daughter's ears have gone deaf. Qing Yu yells at him in anger, saying that he only knows about work and never shows his face at home. Now it's too late. No matter how good a doctor is, they can't cure her daughter's illness. Ding Tian knows he's wrong and hurriedly humbles himself and apologizes, but everything is too late. The love she has for Ding Tian has been completely extinguished. She only wants to divorce and leave this house. Waiting until Ding Tian leaves, she decisively drags her suitcase and takes her child away. Qing Yue takes her daughter to a suburb and rents a house. The house is old, but the price is not cheap at all. That night, she hugs her daughter and cries silently. After her child falls asleep, she calls Ding Tian and asks him to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow to get a divorce certificate. Ding Tian had anticipated this result, but when he stood in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau, he still tried to humble himself and apologize to his wife to salvage some of their marriage. But Qing Yue's heart has already turned cold. She only wants to quickly end this marriage. Ding Tian hides in the office and cries for several days. But the company's difficulties are still piled up there, waiting for him to solve. While everyone doesn't know what to do, his mother comes to give him a lesson. Xianwu's wife also rushes to find Hong Yu, blaming her for being a homewrecker. In anger, she slaps her hard. Meanwhile, Feng Jie also hears the news that Ding Tian and his wife have divorced. He can't believe that things have turned out this way. If even the two of them have to divorce, then what is there to call eternity in this world? Dewey tells Feng Ji that they might have gone too far this time. But Crew Cut, who is sitting beside him, says that everything he has to endure is what he deserves. Hearing this, Feng Ji waves him over and slaps him. Feng Ji starts to hesitate at this time. Although he hates Ding Tian, he doesn't want his former brother to end up like this. Since divorcing Ding Tian, Qing Yue has to shoulder everything. Taking her child to the doctor and taking care of her are just small things for her. The most important thing is that she needs money. So, to make money to take care of her child, she has no choice but to start looking for a job. But no company wants to hire someone who has to work and care for a child. Meanwhile, Ding Tian's company is also in a difficult situation. Seeing that the company cannot continue for much longer, the employees demand to withdraw one after another. Ding Tian doesn't make things difficult for them, just smiles and says that whoever wants to leave can leave. Fortunately, there are still many employees who believe in and stand up to support him and insist on staying with him until the end. Seeing how many people are still willing to fight alongside him, he finally stops feeling depressed. Although there's not much money left in the account, Ding Tian still tells Xianwu to take out 2 million to pay the programmers. As the two are discussing the company's survival, the lawyer suddenly rushes in and announces that he has found evidence to prove that Boss Joe's death had nothing to do with him. Ding Tian goes to the computer room to check the progress of the project. Just hearing Bookworm report that there are still many problems with the software writing, his psychological defense line seems to start losing control and keeps scolding the employees who are working diligently. Just as his anger erupts, he sees the gray-haired professor standing in the distance looking at him. He knows that the business losses make him feel very pressured, so he just gently advises him that everyone has pressure. The only difference is whether we can overcome it or not. On the other hand, Qing Yu, with the help of her close friend, has also found a job, and her life is getting better. Ding Tian, having regained his single status, starts to go out and drink to relieve his worries again. He and Hong Yu laugh and joke, talking about everything under the sun. The two get drunk. Before parting ways, Hong Yu says goodbye to him. The next day, the police came to arrest Hong Yu for illegal business activities. It turns out that Hong Yu had foreseen this a long time ago, so she stood up to bear all the responsibility. After the police take her away, Ding Tian calls the legal team to have them stand up and clarify things for Hong Yu. But Xianwu stops him. If they want to save the company, there's only one way: successfully develop the unfinished software. To develop it, Ding Tian must take care of it. That night, Ding Tian goes to find Feng Ji to settle the score. He thinks that all of this was done by him. The two of them exchange words back and forth. No one is willing to give in. Before long, the trial begins. Hong Yu is sentenced to 5 years in prison. Seeing her end up like this, Ding Tian and Feng Ji's hearts are filled with mixed feelings. Meanwhile, the professor has also received a package that his student sent back from the United States. Inside is a demo of Microsoft preparing to launch in the Chinese market. As soon as he opens it and sees it, he is so shocked that he spits up blood. Everyone rushes over to take him to the hospital, but the professor at this time signals Ding Tian to come to his computer. The Windows 95 system displayed on the screen makes Ding Tian's eyes widen. He knows that they have no way out at this time. Lying on the hospital bed, the professor instructs him not to give up this matter under any circumstances. On the other hand, Boss Joe's wife finally agrees to come to court, returning the innocents to their company. But everything is too late now. All that remains for them now is a huge debt of hundreds of thousands of yuan. To pay the processing fees for the welfare factories, Ding Tian has no choice but to sell his house. As soon as Xianwu pokes his head out, they swarm out like a broken nest. Several other people take advantage of the noise and rush straight into the computer room and take all the computers in the room without saying a word. The situation is urgent. He hurriedly grabs all the source code they have researched for so long and stuffs it into his pocket. When Ding Tian returns, their office has turned into a wasteland. While Ding Tian is cleaning up the computer room, Xian Wu finds him. While picking up the wires, he taunts him that Microsoft's computer system is too perfect. What they have been researching for the past 3 years is just a joke in their eyes. Hearing Ding Tian say this, Xian Wu feels very angry and rushes over to punch him. He can't understand where the arrogant person from the past has gone. After making a fuss with Xian Wu, Ding Tian goes to visit Hong Yu. At first, Hong Yu feels that her sacrifice is worthwhile. But after hearing Ding Tian say that he has decided not to continue the project and will also sell the company to pay off the debt, she is very surprised. She angrily hangs up, and everything she has given up to this point is considered a waste. After selling his house to pay off the debt, Ding Tian rides the 3-wheeled bicycle that he borrowed to take his mother back to the slum from years ago. He tells her to go back to his hometown to enjoy her old age. He can handle everything here. But feeling sorry for her son, she doesn't hesitate and starts to clean the house. In order to save some money, she also cooks for her son herself. While talking, she also advises him to find his wife, but as soon as she finishes speaking, Qing Yue comes. After her mother-in-law persuades her, she reluctantly agrees to sit at the same table with Ding Tian. But sitting at the same table brings back memories of the past, making her have no mood to eat anymore and hurriedly leave. Seeing her mother-in-law chasing after her, she quickly wipes away her tears and stuffs a stack of money into her hand. On the other hand, Feng Ji has also come to visit Hong Yu. His heart has always been set on her. Hearing him say that he will wait for her, she doesn't reply but only tells him to stop. Things have come to this point. Don't push people too hard. Feng Hie understands her meaning. But having reached this point, what else can be done? He has no interest in suppressing people who are already at the end of the road. Seeing his ruthlessness, Hong Yu has no hope anymore. As soon as he comes out, he meets Crewcut again. Knowing that he has no place to stay, Feng Jie calls him back to work for him. That day, while Shan Wu and his wife are talking, a group of people carrying sticks rushes in, demanding debt. Unable to find Ding Tian, they rush to beat Shan Wu to vent their anger. Hearing the news, Ding Tian has to personally go to announce the closure of the company to avoid trouble from continuing to happen to everyone. Knowing that Ding Tian has announced the dissolution, Feng Jie also comes to express his intention to buy the building. But at this time, Ding Tian would rather die than bow his head. He tells Feng Jie that only if he can pay off all the debts can he hand over this building to him. After the employees leave, Xian Wu also decides to leave. Ding Tian asks him to calculate all the debts he still has to pay so that he can easily handle them later. For Ding Tian, whoever's money it is, it's still money, so he must pay off all these debts. After returning home, Ding Tian advises his mother to return to his hometown to enjoy her old age, because he fears that now that the company has closed, bad guys will come to his house to harm his mother. And reality has proven that the things he worries about are never superfluous. That day, when Ding Tian was out, several thugs suddenly appeared and took her away. That night, Ding Tian didn't return home until late. He sees the debt slip on the table and hurriedly runs to Shan Wu's house to check who they still owe the money to, as written on the slip. After finding the creditor, he hurriedly goes to meet him and promises him that he will quickly pay off the debt on the condition that he doesn't touch his mother. But the company has already gone bankrupt. Where can he get the money? Just as he is almost desperate, Xian Wu rushes over with money to let him go save his mother. With the money in hand, the bad guys quickly release his mother. Returning home, his mother understands her son's worries after this incident, so she decides to leave for her hometown the next day. Unfortunately, as he goes to get the bus ticket, tragedy strikes. Ding Tian loses his mother. The pain piles up on his shoulders. Ding Tian rushes to the sea to let the waves engulf him. 3 years later, he appears again on the boat from Macau to Shenzhen. From the day Ding Tian disappeared, Xian Wu has had nightmares every day. That morning, he went to the dumpling shop as usual. Unexpectedly, the owner tells him that Ding Tian just left here. Hearing this, he hurriedly runs outside, frantically looking around for him. Before long, the news that Ding Tian has returned is also spread to the core members of the software project from years ago. Receiving the news, they also come to find him one after another. First is Peanut, and then comes Bookworm. For his ideals, Bookworm has ignored all his wife's advice, giving up a light, high-paying job to join Ding Tian. He opens his bag and shows Ding Tian that all the source code they researched that year has been rewritten and stored on a hard drive. At that time, although the machine was completely smashed and all the data was lost, Bookworm still believed that Ding Tian would return, so he personally researched to rewrite it once again. In less than half a day, all the talents have gathered. They haven't been in contact for 3 years, but just one message is enough for them to be present, which shows how much they trust Ding Tian. Before taking everyone away from Shenzhen, Ding Tian goes to say goodbye to Qing Yue and her daughter. After so many years, his daughter doesn't even recognize her father anymore. The condition of his daughter has always been a stone pressing tightly on his chest. Fortunately, with advanced medicine, her hearing has gradually recovered. Qing Yue asks about his situation over the past few years. Ding Tian just smiles and tells her that for the past few years, he has lived under bridges, in parks, and in public toilets. Anywhere that can be lived in, he has lived. Being chased around by people is why his hair has turned gray. Hearing him say this, Qing Yue feels very sorry. She was always foolishly jealous, but when her husband was at his most difficult time, she ruthlessly left. It's not as good as a stranger who can go to jail for him. After saying goodbye to his ex-wife, he goes to visit Hong Yu one last time. The two don't say a word to each other. Just looking into each other's eyes, they can understand what each other's lives have been like these past few years. Ding Tian finally can't hold back anymore, and tears well up in his eyes. After taking care of everything, Ding Tian hires a car to take them to a place far away to start their business. The living conditions are very harsh, and the rooms are very small. As soon as they arrive, Ding Tian hands 800 to Jianwu to manage. This is all of their startup capital. After someone takes care of it, the room becomes warmer and tidier. From that day on, under Ding Tian's leadership, everyone started working enthusiastically again. After overthrowing Ding Tian, Da Wei wants to cross the river and tear down the bridge. Taking advantage of Feng Jie's return to his hometown to celebrate the new year, he replaces all the employees in the company. Returning home, he angrily goes to find Da Wei to settle the score. Not wanting to waste words on such small fries, he turns around to find the mastermind behind everything. Under Feng Jie's leadership, his company has become a tyrant in the functional food business. Now what else does he need him for? So he resolutely demands that he settle the matter of the money, but he makes all sorts of excuses to avoid it. If he keeps procrastinating, he shouldn't expect to get it even if he begs for it later. So Feng Jie brings Crew Cut to the chairman's office and drives his grandson away. Seeing that he refuses to listen and even dares to flaunt with him, Crew Cut rushes in and beats him to a pulp. The purpose of Feng Jie doing this is, first, to regain his position, and second, to let the old man know that he is not someone easy to mess with either. After Feng Jie leaves, Monface runs to find his uncle to ask him to avenge him. But Da Wei knows that Feng Jie is still valuable to exploit, so he still wants to keep him. That night, Da Wei asks Feng Jie out to dinner. Talking back and forth, they still return to the most important issue, which is money. Hearing Feng Jie keep nagging, Da Wei takes out a check worth 20 million and gives it to him, thinking that this amount of money can satisfy his greed. But no. Feng Jie knows that he deserves more than that. For 3 years of dedication, the money he earned for Da Wei must be as high as 700 million RMB. According to the previous contract, he should at least get 140 million. The two argue endlessly. Indeed, no capitalist wants to give in to anyone, but what Feng Jie said is all done according to the law, making it impossible for Da Wei to find fault with anything. In anger, he reveals a shocking secret. It turns out that his dead girlfriend was Da Wei's mistress. In a fit of anger, Feng Jie takes the empty wine bottle and smashes it straight into his head. Knowing that he has created a big disaster, he calls Crew Cut to handle this matter. After taking his pulse, Crew Cut tells Feng Jie that he's not dead yet. This incident alone is enough to scare Feng Jie out of his wits, so he lets him take the person to the hospital. Unexpectedly, on the way, he wakes up and even wants to use the 100 in his pocket to exchange for Feng Jie's life. Crew Cut stops the car on the side of the road, strangling him. Who does he think he is to want Feng Jie's life? After struggling for a while, his moans also fade away. Crew Cut takes all the money in his pocket and finds a secluded place to bury both the person and the car. After learning that Da Wei is dead, Feng Jie is extremely frightened. To prevent any further complications, the next day, Feng Jie takes the check that Da Wei signed to the company to withdraw the money. Feng Jie is so nervous, like a child doing something bad for the first time, that even the accountant notices his difference. After handing the check to the girl, Feng Jie staggers out to the car. His whole body is sweating cold. Crew Cut pulls out a few pieces of paper for him to dry off with. For several days, Mounface is nowhere to be found. He immediately guesses that Feng Jie did it and quickly goes to the company to settle the score. But unexpectedly, all the shareholders stand on Feng Jie's side. Seeing that the situation is getting more and more unfavorable, he can only tell Feng Jie to wait and immediately leaves. At this time, Feng Jie also stands up to resign. He doesn't want to be involved with this place anymore. After leaving the company, Mounface goes to report the case to the police. Because they suspect Feng Jie, the police come to his house to wait for him and then arrest him. Faced with the police's questioning, Feng Jie starts to talk vaguely, revealing his tale. But currently, the police have not found Da Wei's body, so they cannot convict him. Crew Cut tells him that Mounface's life cannot be spared either, but Feng Jie slaps him, saying that if Mounface dies now, wouldn't they be inviting trouble on themselves? Crew Cut submissively pretends to listen, but that night he secretly ambushes and kills Mounface. The disappearances and murders that occur one after another cause public opinion in the area to start buzzing. The very next day, Mounface's death is put on the front page. Reading the news, Feng Jie asks Crew Cut out. Unexpectedly, he very calmly admits that he killed the person and that everything he did was for his own good. Then, using the excuse of repairing the house for his parents, he borrows some money from him. After meeting Crew Cut, he visits Hongyu for a while. Seeing him talking nonsense, Hongyu seems to feel that something is wrong and quickly asks him if something has happened. But Fengji doesn't answer her and only tells her that next time he comes, he will bring her lots of delicious food. But without waiting for the next prison visit, something happens to Hongyu. On the way back to her cell, she suddenly falls to the ground. When she wakes up, it is 2 days later. After testing, she was diagnosed with leukemia. In the days that follow, she just lies in the hospital room, counting the number of hairs that fall out on the bed. Fortunately, a little girl in the next bed is with her, which makes her happier. Then what has to come will eventually come. One day, that little girl leaves her and flies to heaven first. Seeing this scene, she can no longer hold on and breaks down crying by the bed. Because she doesn't want anyone to see her ugly appearance, Hongyu runs away, but before long, Fengji finds her. To cure Hongyu, he is willing to spend all the money he has. He stays by her bedside day and night to take care of her. He wants to take her abroad for treatment, but Hongyu's health is now too weak. She can't fly long distance. At this time, Fengji takes out the ring that he had prepared earlier and expresses his love for her once again. Even if it's just for one day, it would be enough to make me happy. His persistence finally moves her. She unhesitatingly lets Fengji put the ring on her finger. Sadly, the next day, Hongyu falls into a coma. While preparing to lose consciousness, she keeps calling Dingtian's name, which makes Fengji feel extremely painful. Meanwhile, with the constant efforts of 8 people, the first e-commerce platform was born. Everyone happily raises their glasses to celebrate. But the joy doesn't last long. Xianwu comes to find Dingtian to complain that their forum is only posting free news and not making any money. The 800 has also been spent. But Dingtian shakes his head. He has to wait until everyone gradually depends on their platform before starting to make money. While the economy is difficult, Dingtian suddenly remembers a venture capitalist friend of Xianwu, Boss Tai, so they ask him out to introduce their new platform. He is also very generous and spends 3 million to invest. But obviously Dingtian doesn't agree with this price. At this point, 3 million to invest in a website is already too high. Boss Tai can't take any more risks. Neither side is willing to give in, and the negotiation fails. After Dingtian leaves, Xianwu goes to apologize to his friend. Not everyone can tolerate Dingtian's temperament. If he doesn't handle it well, he shouldn't expect to see each other again later. But Boss Tai laughs and tells him that he likes his personality, being able to do what he says. Seeing Dingtian being so stubborn, Xianwu is also very angry. So he leaves alone to revive the company. At this time, Peanut also thinks of a way to make money. The next day, the number of visits to the platform suddenly skyrockets, making the atmosphere in the room explode. At this time, Peanut also returns victorious. She happily puts 100 on the table to everyone's astonishment. From here, they have a new idea. In addition to developing the e-commerce platform, they can also create websites to promote different businesses. From the day the new service was opened, the number of orders has also increased significantly. At this time, Dingtian tells Xianwu the truth about his plan. The first time they met, he asked for such a high price in the sky to confirm his position. As long as he attracts him, money will no longer be a problem at the next meeting. In the next few days, Peanut goes out on another trip and brings back 300 in profit. Dingtian's startup plan is a complete success. They are finally able to hold their heads high and return to their old haunt. In his golden age, he decides to sell the company back to Boss Tai. At that time, the company was worth 1 billion RMB, but he only took 20 million from Boss Tai. The condition for him to hand over the company to him is only one. In the future, he is not allowed to treat the 8 people who worked hard with him through all the difficulties that year badly. He agrees to it, but he still can't understand why Dingtian sold his hard work for such a cheap price. It turns out that Dingtian sold the company in order to quickly pay off the debt from that year and then retire. Dingtian's actions made him famous everywhere. Seeing the news on TV, relatives and friends are all happy for him because only they know what he had to give up to get to this point. The employees in the company have also learned everything at this time. They don't want to leave such a good boss. Dingtian bows his head to apologize to everyone, and also thanks them for the trust they have given him all these years. With the company's affairs taken care of, Fengji comes to find Dingtian and takes him to meet Hongyu. Seeing her thin appearance, his tears keep falling. According to the doctor's diagnosis, with her current situation, she can only live for a maximum of 2 more months. Fengji tells him that he wants to marry Hongyu and hopes that he will never show up to ruin their happy life. After leaving the hospital, he goes to find Qingyue and her daughter and gives her the remaining 500. Then he tells her about Hongyu's current situation. He is silent for a long time and then tells Qingyue that he will marry her. Hearing this, so many mixed feelings rush over, tearing at her inner self. As if wanting to prove her suspicions from that year, she asks Dingtian if he really loves her. He doesn't hide anything and tells her frankly that he loves her. Hearing this answer, her heart is extremely sour. If Qing Yu hadn't insisted on divorcing that year, they wouldn't have broken up such a happy family. Seeing his daughter running out and just standing there watching him leave, he seems to collapse. It's true that in the days to come, he can give up everything to be by her side to take care of her, but at this time, the person who needs him the most is Hong Yu. He can't let her down again. On the other hand, Feng Ji and Hong Yu's wedding is also about to take place, but Hong Yu can no longer continue to deceive herself. She doesn't want to marry Feng Ji at all, so she once again refuses him. But the wedding has been prepared, and the invitations have been sent. How can he accept this truth? He kneels down and begs Hong Yu to marry him. At this time, a knock on the door sounds. Ding Tian brings a bouquet of wedding flowers and enters. He wants to steal the bride. But at this time, Feng Ji mocks him. Where was he when she was most in pain and needed him the most? Now he dares to come here and compete with him. Every word that Feng Ji says is like a sharp knife, reminding him that he is not worthy of her love at all. After saying this, he pushes Ding Tian out the door and even snatches the bouquet and hits Ding Tian repeatedly. Not satisfied, Feng Ji rushes in and punches him. Seeing Ding Tian being beaten, she is very distressed and hurriedly stops them. She can't understand why, until now, they still want to fight for this dying body. She doesn't need sympathy or pity from anyone, especially from Ding Tian. She tells him that he doesn't need to feel guilty. Everything is because she is willing. But at this time, Ding Tian still insists on kneeling and asking Hong Yu to marry him. Seeing that she doesn't refuse, he hurriedly picks her up and leaves the hospital. Once again, Feng Jie loses miserably to him. Ding Tian takes her to the seaside. Hong Yu happily leans into his arms and slowly leaves this world. Having lost his loved one again, Feng Ji locks himself in his house. At this time, Crew Cut comes again. In his addiction, he keeps begging Feng Jie for some money to buy drugs. Feng Ji's heart is already a mess. Being constantly nagged by someone is too much. His anger erupts, so he beats Crew Cut and chases him away. After taking care of Hong Yu's funeral, Ding Tian finds Shan Wu to inquire about the source of the money that he brought to save his mother that year. That year, he brought it to save his mother. Although Shan Wu refuses to say, he has guessed that the money was sent by Feng Jie to help him in his most difficult time. Therefore, he brings money to pay Feng Ji back, but he refuses to see him. After being able to avoid him for one day, he can't avoid him for a lifetime. Finally, Ding Tian successfully ambushes Feng Jie. No matter what he says, Feng Jie won't accept it. He wants Ding Tian to owe him for the rest of his life. As soon as Feng Ji returns home, Crew Cut ambushes him with a gun, demanding that he give him 5 million. Otherwise, he will tell the police the location where Da Wei's body is buried. But Feng Ji isn't afraid at all, because he has long guessed that the person who really killed Da Wei wasn't him, but the madman in front of him. Having been hit where it hurts most, Crew Cut wants to kill Feng Ji right away, but who isn't afraid of death? So Feng Ji has no choice but to agree to give him the money. Just as Feng Jie is fumbling for the key, Crew Cut's addiction flares up. Seeing an opportunity, Feng Jie grabs the stick leaning against the side and knocks Crew Cut down. Seeing that he dares to shoot him, Feng Ji keeps hitting Crew Cut on the head with the stick. This battle is I live, you die. Feng Ji doesn't want to show mercy. Seeing Crew Cut suddenly stop struggling, he panics, thinking that he has killed someone, and hurriedly goes to wash away the bloodstains. Just at this time, Crew Cut grabs the stick and runs over to ambush him. In a panic, he grabs the gun and shoots Crew Cut dead. Then, he gets in the car and speeds to Qing Yue's house, ordering her to call Ding Tian to come here to ensure his daughter's safety. She has no choice but to obey him. When Ding Tian arrives, he hides behind the door to ambush him and tells him that he just killed someone. Seeing that Feng Ji has a gun in his hand, he's afraid that he will harm Qing Yue and her daughter, so he has to beg him to release them. Feng Jie forces him to kneel down and beg him. Everything has come to this. Ding Tian has no choice. He gives up all his self-esteem and pride and kneels down to beg. Seeing this, Feng Jie is very satisfied. Finally, one day, he defeated Ding Tian. After releasing Qing Yue and her daughter, Feng Jie begins to sit down and calculate the hatred with him. Hearing the gunshot, Qing Yue hurriedly rushes over. Fortunately, Xian Wu and his wife quickly hold her back. Qing Yue can't imagine what she would do if Ding Tian died. But Feng Ji isn't such a heartless person. He laments himself and raises the gun, wanting to end this painful, tormented life. No matter how Ding Tian tries to dissuade him, Feng Jie still doesn't give up his intention to commit suicide. Having reached this point, Ding Tian tells Feng Ji, "If you want to die, then let's die together." Then he points the gun at his chest. Finally, their grudges are resolved. But some things, once done, there is no turning back. Before long, the police arrive to take Feng Ji away. Under Ding Tian's advice, he confesses the whole truth. Because this case is too serious, even though Ding Tian goes to find the best lawyer to defend Feng Ji, it's still unsuccessful. Feng Ji has no more attachments to anything. He tells Ding Tian to help him sell the company and compensate the victims. There's no point in wasting his effort to save him. But his life ends like this. So he asks the poor girl who stole the source code of their company that year to bring her son to visit him in prison. Knowing that the child in front of him is his son, his mood becomes agitated. He tells Ding Tian to definitely save him. Knowing that Ding Tian is still trying to help him escape, Feng Ji sits in his cell every day, waiting for good news. Meanwhile, to give her daughter a complete family, Qing Yu finally agrees to return to her ex-husband's side. Everything goes smoothly. One day, Ding Tian takes Xian Wu to his company. Unexpectedly, as soon as the door opens, he sees all familiar faces. They have returned here to continue their dream of creating their own operating system from the past. Knowing that his personality is not suitable for being the boss, Ding Tian decides to hand this matter over to Xian Wu, and he retreats to the position of programmer. Carrying the belief of a bright future, they finally succeeded in launching the new operating system. Thanks for watching.